Chapter 549. Before the Spring Festival, the biggest news in the financial section was none other than Pleasure Group's restructuring and relisting. This piece of news even caused a heated discussion in the entertainment section. Everyone knew that Ling Han had become the man of Lonjiang City's Haiyan Media's President Gu. Being the son-in-law of the Gu family was a good job that everyone wanted. After all, it was good to have a strong backer. Moreover, the second daughter of the Gu family was so beautiful that any man would be attracted to her. Originally, it was thought that Pleasure Group was finished in the hands of Ling Han's third uncle. It would be sold at a low price and bought other companies. Who would have thought that Pleasure Group would make a comeback overnight? As soon as the news of relisting came out, Lonjiang City was in an uproar. If the Gu family had the intention to support their son-in-law, this would not be a problem. However, the public had not completely digested the news of Su Nanqing's extramarital affair. They thought that Ling Han was about to be chased out of the Gu family by the time this happened. After Ling Han returned to Pleasure Group, the first thing he did was to restructure the group. A large number of shares were returned to him, so the real power of the entire group fell completely into his hands. After that, Pleasure Group directly bought back the shares at a high price and distributed them to the internal senior management. The inactive senior management was asked to leave. The original staff returned one after another, leaving only the elites. A group of people who had entered the company through nepotism were also eliminated. They quickly established long-term overseas cooperation with two of the world's top 10 media companies. After being listed for a week, Pleasure Group's shares rose several times. Those who looked down on Ling Han and mocked him at various cocktail parties were all dumbfounded. There was also a lot of discussion on the internet about Ling Han's methods of dealing with his uncle, who was behind his back. So many senior management were asked to leave, leaving only Umbo and his son. Ling Han is still soft-hearted. Come on, didn't you hear that Umbo was arranged by Ling Han to be in the African branch? Africa? Yeah, it's a malaria epidemic. Ling Han had indeed transferred Umbo to the African branch, but the day before the departure, the old man had a heart attack and was directly sent to the emergency room. In the hospital, he was resuscitated for an entire night. After coming out, she pulled Ling Han and burst into tears. Han, it's all my fault. I don't have the face to see you anymore. If it weren't for my illness, I would have gone to Africa and never come back. Ling Han calmly pulled his arm away and stood beside the bed. His expression was cold as if he was looking at a stranger. Since uncle is so unwell, you don't have to go all the way to that kind of place. My mother will blame me if she sees it in the sky. Before Umbo could breathe a sigh of relief, he said again, I've already asked someone to send my cousin over. He's young and strong. He can stay in Africa for at least 10 years. He's more suitable than you. You? Umbo almost couldn't catch his breath and was directly sent to the emergency room. After coming out of the ward, Yi Huanyan called Ling Han's cell phone. The voice on the other end of the phone was a little worried. What did the hospital say? Is it really a heart attack? Ling Han sneered. It might not have been true before, but I'm afraid it's true now. Why, what did you do? I sent Wen Siyuan to Africa. Hearing this, the person on the other end of the phone was stunned for a second, then immediately burst into laughter. If you tell Umbo about this, won't he explode with anger? He only has one precious son. If you really feel sorry for him, then hurry up and get Wen Siyuan back. I have no objections. When it came to feeling sorry for his son, Umbo really did feel sorry for him, but not to that extent. In Umbo's eyes, the most important thing was probably his money. Money was more important than anything, so what was the point of talking about a son? Since there's nothing else, come back for dinner tonight. Ling Zhan said that she has something to announce. Something to do with Sister Ling. I thought so, Yi Huanyan coughed on the other end of the phone. But does this need to be announced? Doesn't everyone already know? Ling Han did not care about what Ling Zhan was going to announce. Instead, all his attention was attracted by the occasional cough on the phone. Do you have a cold? No, Yi Huanyan cleared her throat. My throat is a little itchy. I guess the air is not good. Hearing this, Ling Han looked down at his wrist. It was 3:30 in the afternoon, 1.5 hours before Yi Huanyan's work ended. After leaving the hospital, he went straight to the nearby pharmacy to buy some medicine, then went straight to Haiyan Media. When she saw Gu Qi leading Ling Han into the office, Yi Huanyan was stunned for a moment, then immediately smiled. "Why are you here? Didn't you say that you would wait for me at home? I still have something to do here." "It's okay, you do what you need to do. Drink this." A bottle of loquat cream was placed in front of Yi Huanyan from Ling Han's clean hand. The dark brown glass bottle shone brightly under the light. Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed with a touch of emotion. Although she said that it was not a big deal, her heart was as sweet as honey. In the afternoon, after the last promotional meeting about the movies during the Spring Festival, Yi Huanyan hurried out of the conference room. After drinking the loquat cream, her throat was much clearer. Ling Han was waiting for her in the office. When she came back, they put down the things and walked out of the building side by side. The sun was setting outside the building. It was rare to get off work early. Before the sun set, the city center's daily traffic jam had begun. Yi Huanyan looked up at Ling Han. "It's blocked again." Ling Han frowned. "In this situation, I'm afraid it'll take 4 to 5 hours to get home." Yi Huanyan looked at the subway sign diagonally across the street. Her eyes suddenly had a hint of slyness. "Actually, we can take the subway. It's faster to squeeze people than to squeeze in cars." Ling Han was slightly stunned. "Subway? You don't want to? Eldest young master?" Yi Huanyan had a teasing look on her face. "That's fine too." She did not expect Ling Han to agree, and agree so readily. It was rush hour, and the subway was packed. The first train left twice, but Yi Huanyan and Ling Han could not squeeze in. It was not until the third train that Yi Huanyan forced Ling Han onto the train, but they were stuck at the door. When she looked up, she saw Ling Han's ashen face. Yi Huanyan's face tensed up. She barely held back her laughter. She looked up at his chest and asked, "Hey, didn't you agree to take the subway yourself?" Ling Han's face turned even paler. Ling Han's impression of taking the subway was almost zero. He vaguely remembered that he had taken it a few years ago, and it was also with Yi Huanyan. At that time, it was not rush hour, and the subway was barely spacious. At least, there was no such grand scene of butt-to-butt. Chapter 550. Ling Han had been well educated since he was a child, so he didn't have the slightest air of a commoner. His natural air of nobility seemed out of place in this crowded subway car. He didn't care about the crowd behind him, only minding his own business as he held Yi Huanyan in his arms, separating them from the crowd. Yi Huanyan glanced out of the corner of her eyes. There were already a few girls pretending to look at their phones, but they were actually secretly taking photos. She felt a little sour in her heart as she quietly raised her head to look at the man whose breath was connected to hers. Ling Han was 10 years older than her. When she first met him, he was just a young man who had just returned from school, a very gentle person. Many years passed in the blink of an eye. From Yi Huanyan's perspective, the first thing she saw was his chin. He had carefully shaved, and after looking for a long time, she could barely see some green stubble. His skin was very delicate, but it was a healthy wheat color. His sideburns were dyed with a few strands of gray that didn't match his age, but his facial features were very energetic, especially his pair of eyes. They were fierce and cold, but only a little gentler when he looked at her. At this moment, he was only focused on blocking the momentum of the crowd for Yi Huanyan, so he didn't have time to pay attention to her gaze. It was as gentle as water, but also filled with emotion. Suddenly, there was a tightening force around his waist. A trace of astonishment appeared in Ling Han's eyes. He followed the force and lowered his head to look at the woman in his arms. He didn't know when, but she was quietly lying on his chest with a pair of hands around his waist. At this moment, her breathing was even and close to his heartbeat. "What's wrong?" He lowered his head and asked in her ear. The subway was very loud, so Yi Huanyan couldn't hear clearly, but she could roughly guess what he was asking. She rubbed against his chest and shook her head, quietly lying on his chest. After one station after another, the number of people in the carriage gradually decreased. However, Yi Huanyan seemed to have fallen asleep. She closed her eyes and leaned on him, looking like she was sleeping peacefully. There was an empty seat next to her, but Ling Han didn't have the heart to disturb her. He was probably too tired these days. Going back to the old house, they had to take the bus to the terminal station. When they arrived at the terminal station, there were almost no people in the bus except for some young people who looked like freshly graduated college students. They rented houses far away and leaned against the seats in the bus to take a nap. The train has stopped. The pleasant voice of the announcer rang out in the carriage. Ling Han patted Yi Huanyan on the shoulder and said in a low voice, "We're here." Only then did Yi Huanyan open her eyes. Her face was full of confusion. "We're here?" "Yes." After getting off the subway, Ling Han held her hand and walked toward the exit. Suddenly, a burst of messy footsteps caught up with them. "Wait, wait." Yi Huanyan and Ling Han both turned around. Two young girls chased after him. They looked to be in their early 20s. One of them fell behind and was desperately rummaging through something in her school bag. "You are Director Gu Huanyan, right?" Ling Han and Yi Huanyan exchanged a look and smiled knowingly. Yi Huanyan nodded graciously. "I am." The two girls were wild with joy. "We just watched Remaining Life yesterday and thought that it was really well done. The script is top-notch, the filming and the actors are top-notch, and we're all your loyal fans. We've also watched your trilogy before, and we really can't find fault with the script, it's a work of conscience." "Thank you," Yi Huanyan thanked them politely. "Then, can you give us an autograph?" The two girls looked expectant. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned, then smiled. "Sure." This was the first time someone had asked her for an autograph. After getting the autograph, the two girls kept fidgeting with an embarrassed look on their faces. Then, "Screenwriter Gu, can we take a photo with you?" Just one, is that okay?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and looked up at Ling Han. "Go ahead, I'll help you." It was rare for Ling Han to take the initiative to make such a request. During the photo shoot, the two girls stood on either side of Yi Huanyan. One of them asked softly, "Screenwriter Gu, the person taking the photo is the legendary Ling Han, right?" "Your husband." The legendary Ling Han. Yi Huanyan couldn't help but laugh at this description. She thought to herself that she must tell this description to Ling Han later, so she nodded. "Yes, that's my husband. Your husband is so handsome. He must be the model for Ling Shuangqing in Remaining Life." Before Yi Huanyan could reply, the other girl anxiously interrupted. "Are you stupid? Ling Shuangqing and Guan Zhu have a deep grudge against each other. In real life, who would be able to get together with such a deep grudge? That's just a script, don't take it for granted. Screenwriter Gu's husband looks considerate, unlike Ling Shuangqing. He's too cold." The girl on the left seemed to want to say something, but Ling Han's voice sounded from afar. "Smile, I'll count to 3. The two girls fell silent. One on the left and one on the right. Yi Huanyan put an arm around their shoulders and laughed. After the photos were taken, the two girls thanked him. As they walked, they judged the characters in the movie. During the photo shoot, the girl standing on the left obviously liked Ling Shuang's coldness very much, but the girl on the right hated this kind of coldness. "If my boyfriend was as cold as Ling Shuangqing, I would have broken up with him 800 times already. I would have frozen to death. I still prefer Bai Lan played by you. He's a childhood sweetheart, innocent and warm. A warm guy is like a central air conditioner, I don't like it." "What?" "Our Bai Lan is only warm to Guan Zhu. Now it's only warm to Chen Yin." "Hey." The two girls walked away with red faces and thick necks, leaving Yi Huanyan and Ling Han behind, side by side, as they slowly walked out of the subway entrance. The evening wind blew, making them shiver as they walked out of the subway. Ling Han tied a crimson scarf around Yi Huanyan's neck like a magic trick, then held her hand and put it in his pocket. "Didn't you not wear down jackets before?" Yi Huanyan looked at him curiously. In the past, he always wore a black woolen coat in winter, as if he was naturally not afraid of the cold. "I like it now, I'm old." Ling Han smiled. Because the pockets of down jackets were warmer, you couldn't bear to take your hand back when you put it in. Yi Huanyan put her hand into his pocket and sniffed. Did you watch Remaining Life? Yes. He even booked the entire theater for the company to watch. It was natural for him to support his wife. Then which character did you like the most? The male lead, Ling Shuangqing, was a man who was cold to the bone. He fell in love with the female lead, Guanju, in college. Later, because of their family background, Guanju was deeply hurt and had to leave the country with a child. Little did they know that Ling Shuangqing was also carrying a huge psychological burden. He originally planned to let go of the past and start over, but he had already lost the person he loved the most in the sea of people. The story was not written according to Yi Huanyan, but the character design was inevitably close to Ling Han. Ling Shuangqing was cold and gentle, and he gave all his gentleness to Guanju. Yi Huanyan thought that Ling Han would like this character, but she didn't expect him to think for a few seconds and say 2 words in a hoarse voice. Bai Lan. Chapter 551. Why? Yi Huanyan's voice was filled with shock. Bai Lan was the second male lead in Remaining Life. He was Guanju's childhood sweetheart. He had a good temper and a good personality. He worked hard as a spare tire without complaint, but he couldn't warm up Guanju's heart, which had been broken by Ling Shuangqing. Even at the end of the movie, he still couldn't truly let go of Guanju. He was alone for the rest of his life. She thought that a proud and arrogant man like Ling Han wouldn't like such a spineless man. However, Ling Han asked her a question that had nothing to do with what she was asking. If we could go back in time to the day we first met, how would you have spent the next 10 years? In his pocket, Yi Huanyan's hand visibly tightened. I don't like these hypothetical questions. I just want to live in the present and think about the future. There were a lot of painful memories in the past that people didn't dare to think about. The more they thought about it, the more their hearts hurt. Some painful memories couldn't be erased. Even if they had strong feelings now, they couldn't erase the traces of the past that had been repaired. If I could go back in time to that day, I would choose not to provoke you. Ling Han answered his own question. Yi Huanyan's expression changed. She was about to pull her hand out, but Ling Han was prepared. He had already grabbed her hand and pressed it into his pocket. If I didn't provoke you, from that day on, 10 years later, when you met Lu Shen again, you would have been very happy. You wouldn't have suffered so much. Yi Huanyan's heart trembled as she asked. Can you bear to do that? I can't bear to. Ling Han's voice was a little muffled. Then why did you? Yi Huanyan's face was still angry, but when she saw Ling Han's tightly furrowed brows, she lost her temper. All these years, she wasn't the only one who had suffered. She left with a clear conscience and came back majestically. She left Ling Han alone. After finding out the truth, he lived in guilt and self-blame. After she came back, he had changed tremendously. Everything other than her became secondary. Everyone other than her became secondary. There was a thorn in his heart that grew upside down. Every time he recalled the past, it would poke his heart until it bled incessantly. He would rather have the woman he loved grow old with someone else than have her hurt by his own hands. Yi Huanyan did not ask further, nor did she continue the topic. She only moved closer to Ling Han and sniffed. Let's go. Everyone at home is waiting for us to eat. My phone has been vibrating a few times. I feel like my mom is rushing us. Yes. The cold wind blew. Snow fluttered in the sky and covered the entire Lonjiang city. It became quiet, plain, and pure white. It returned to its original clean appearance. We can't decorate our memories, but we can decorate our current lives. Then, I believe that one day in the future, when we recall the past again, the first thing that comes to mind is not the painful failures in our memories, but the happiness that has accumulated to the point of overflowing. On New Year's Eve, Ling Li finished purchasing the New Year goods and cleaned up Shi Yuan with the help of Gu Min. At night, when the family was busy pasting the Spring Festival couplets, Ling Han picked up Ling Dongyu and his family from the airport. The black MPV was parked at the entrance. Lingley brushed 2 layers of paste on it and pasted 2 red Spring Festival couplets on it. "How are you going to drive when you've pasted them like this?" Ling Zhan rolled his eyes at Lingley and was about to tear the couplets apart. He had been recuperating for more than a month after the surgery and had basically recovered. However, Fu Yingxiang did not allow him to walk around casually. After all, it was too cold outside. What if he froze? It was rare that his parents were coming back on New Year's Eve. Fu Yingxiang used the excuse of going out to buy things and did not come back for a long time. No one was watching him, so he strolled out. He stared at his sister pasting the Spring Festival couplets while looking at the road. He did not expect that his parents, younger siblings would come back before Fu Yingxiang. Seeing that Ling Zhan was about to tear the couplets apart, Lingley hurriedly stopped him and shouted, "You're so unlucky. How can you be like this? Where do you plan to go on New Year's Eve? Don't go anywhere. Stay at home. The car is not needed anymore. Later, park it in the garage. You're still so enthusiastic." Ling Zhan had always been too lazy to pay attention to Lingley's fallacious reasoning and unraveled a corner of the Spring Festival couplets. "Hey, older sister Xiaoying, you." Ling Zhan suddenly straightened his body. His face was full of joy as he turned around and said, "Xiaoying." There was no Xiaoying. Only Ling Shui was left. She looked at her brother with a smile and a mischievous look on her face. "Brother, who is older sister Xiaoying? Is she our future sister-in-law?" Ling Zhan's face turned pale. Chris was holding Little Bean's hand. When he heard this, he also looked at him in confusion. "You have a girlfriend?" Ling Zhan's face turned even paler. To be honest, he had not thought of how to tell his family about this. "Ling Zhan is not young anymore. When I was his age, I already had him." "Okay, let's go inside. It's not cold." Ling Dongyu spoke up at the right time to save his son. When he left, he gave his son a meaningful look. It was unknown if he already knew something. "Hey, brother." Ling Zhan grabbed Ling Han's hand. He looked conflicted. Ling Han stopped in his tracks and turned to look at him. "We can't help you with this matter, and no one is forcing you. If you don't have the guts to tell the family about this, I think fourth sister won't pester you." "Go." Ling Zhan's face changed. "Go where?" "Fourth sister will be living in an apartment in the city center for the next 2 days. She will come back after the Chinese New Year." Ling Han explained calmly and did not say anything else. "What?" Ling Zhan's face darkened. "Why is she going to the apartment? Why isn't she at home for the Chinese New Year? Didn't we agree?" Seeing that this kid was so stubborn, Ling Han looked at him seriously. "Then who do you think she is to introduce herself to second uncle and the others? Is she your girlfriend or is she just Yan Yan's fourth sister? Wasn't she? The past is the past, and the present is the present. In the past, she could be Yan Yan's good sister, and she could also be Yan Yan's mother's adopted daughter. But now, if you use these 2 identities to introduce her, you will undoubtedly deny her other identity. You and her will come to an end." Fu Yingxiang obviously did not want to come to an end so quickly, so she chose to avoid this matter for the time being. Ling Zhan was young and mature, but he was not as thoughtful as Fu Yingxiang, who was more than 10 years older than him. He only thought that it was a rare occasion for the Chinese New Year. If his parents did not agree, it would make the Chinese New Year unpleasant and everyone would be unhappy. He only wanted to discuss it with his family after the Chinese New Year. But he did not expect there to be so many reasons. Everyone else was celebrating Naneo's Chinese New Year. Did he want her to spend the Chinese New Year alone in an apartment in the city center? He could not bear it. "Where are you going?" Ling Han asked. "The apartment in the city center." After saying this, Ling Zhan drove away in the black MPV with the festive stickers on the windshield. Chapter 552. The sky gradually darkened. A tall figure stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of the apartment in the city center. There was a bottle of red wine on the coffee table beside her. She poured a glass, but it was already empty. She did not refill it. At her age, drinking wine could no longer solve her problems. Moreover, she had a good tolerance for alcohol. It was a pity to use such good wine to get drunk. Lanjiang City was always lively at night, but today was different. The large-scale spring festival started about a week ago, and the news reported that a large number of people were returning home. The more prosperous the city, the quieter it was. It was a half-hour drive from the old mansion to the apartment in the city center. She drove here herself. Yi Huanyan wanted to give her a ride, but she did not accept. This was a good time for her to think. She seriously thought about her future with Ling Zhan. She could disregard her own future. As a 40-year-old woman, she had a fixed life. Other than her feelings, she would not be affected by any external factors. Whether it was her career or anything else, she had it all. Therefore, she was fearless. But Ling Zhan was different. He had just graduated and was in his early 20s. It was the best time for him to be young. He should not waste his time with her. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The urgent sound of the doorbell interrupted her thoughts. She was stunned and looked back. There was a trace of doubt in her eyes. She had always been bold when opening the door. There were nannies and bodyguards in her previous residence, so she did not have to worry about criminals sneaking in. Plus, she was strong enough to subdue 1 or 2 people with her bare hands, so she did not even bother to look through the peephole before opening the door. She pulled open the door and was stunned. The cold air coming from the door, mixed with the unique youthful fragrance of the young man, rushed to her heart. As he kicked the door open, he pushed her down on the sofa. "Ling Zhan," she exclaimed, "what are you doing?" Ling Zhan seemed to be half possessed. He pulled at her clothes without care, kissed her lips wantonly, and sucked on her water. His breathing was rapid, and she could feel his vigorous heartbeat through the thick down jacket. Fu Yingxiang suddenly felt a chill in her lower abdomen. She frowned and kicked him down. She didn't say anything and just glanced at him coldly. Ling Zhan fell on the carpet and looked up at her. Her face was pale, but her tone was firm. "You are mine." "So?" Fu Yingxiang pulled the sweater that he had pulled over her shoulder, covering her snow-white skin. She continued to look at him with a cold expression. "You came to my place in the middle of the night just to tell me this? Don't you feel childish? You're angry with me." Ling Zhan looked at her, his eyes full of stubbornness. "If you're willing, I can take you home now and tell my parents that you're my girlfriend, and I want to marry you." Fu Yingxiang frowned. "Firstly, I'm not acting out of spite. Secondly, I'm not willing." "Why?" "There's no reason. When you live to my age, you'll know that anger is a meaningless emotion. Don't change the topic." Ling Zhan got up from the ground. He was probably afraid of Fu Yingxiang's skills, so he simply sat cross-legged on the carpet and asked, "I'm asking why you're not willing." Fu Yingxiang was speechless. It wasn't that she didn't know how to answer, but that there were too many reasons and she didn't know which one to say first. Ling Zhan looked at her steadily, as if he was trying to dig out something from her eyes. He spoke very slowly. "I don't care what you're worried about. You just need to ask your own heart, and then ask my heart. No one can stop me from being with you, except for you. What if I say that I'm not willing to be with you?" "Why?" "It's not suitable." "What's not suitable?" "Everything is not suitable. Because you're older than me. That's one reason." "You can't convince me with this reason." Ling Zhan began to hold on to this sentence. "Why can a man find a woman younger than him, and a woman also likes a man older than her, but I can't? This is a society where men and women are equal." Seeing Fu Yingxiang stare at him disapprovingly, Ling Zhan became more and more excited. "Don't stare at me. I'll say the same in front of my parents." "What else?" "Continue." Fu Yingxiang leaned on the sofa, looking like she was enjoying Ling Zhan's performance. In fact, after being pestered by him like this, the depression in her heart just now disappeared. At this moment, she didn't know what to feel in her heart. She just looked at him to see what else he could say. "Older people have more experience." I mean social experience. Ling Zhan added, blushing a little. You can teach me a lot, and of course, I can teach you a lot. We complement each other. My parents are reasonable people. At first, they may be angry for a while, but they will respect my opinion. Our family has been like this since we were young. You don't have to worry at all. Then what if this anger lasts for a long time? Won't they be happy for the whole spring festival? Won't the whole family be unhappy? I don't care. I'll go back and tell them. No matter what, you have to come back with me for the new year. I'm worried about you being here alone. Fu Yingxiang's eyes suddenly softened. The young man in front of her looked very much like herself many years ago. You don't believe me, right? Ling Zhan suddenly got up. His height of 185 meters was like a small mountain blocking the light behind him, shrouding Fu Yingxiang in a shadow. As he spoke, the light flashed and he had already turned around and walked towards the door. I'll go back and tell my parents now. If they are really angry, I'll come here to spend the new year with you. A figure slowly walked down from the sofa. As soon as Ling Zhan's hand reached the door handle, his other arm was suddenly pulled. He turned around in surprise, only to be embraced by a gentle fragrance. Her lips were soft and sweet, like sesame glutinous rice balls, so sweet that his heart was filled with sweetness. Compared to Ling Zhan's rough and clumsy kiss just now, Fu Yingxiang's kiss was gentle and shocking. This was the first time Fu Yingxiang took the initiative to kiss him. His mind was blank, and his heart was beating faster. It was as if he could hear the thumping of his chest. A thin layer of snowflakes fell to the ground, and a pair of white hands hooked around his neck. He couldn't help but hug her shoulders tightly and respond to her kiss. The temperature in the room seemed to rise in an instant, melting the coldness in the room. The scattered clothes dragged from the entrance to the bedroom door. This child, who she had always thought of as a young man, was actually a fully grown man. The moment he penetrated her, she suddenly gasped. Ah! Ling Zhan. After a muffled groan, her whole body tensed up and she didn't move for a long time. Did I hurt you? Ling Zhan was a little at a loss. He didn't know whether to move forward or retreat. He leaned on her as if he was facing a great enemy, and his face was red with anxiety. Chapter 553. Fu Yingxiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The pain she felt was relieved when she saw him like this. You're like this for the first time. Did you go to the physiological class for nothing? Ling Zhan was sweating profusely. When he heard this, he was relieved. After a while, his face suddenly tightened. You said you were... Fu Yingxiang's face changed. She closed her eyes and gritted her teeth, refusing to speak. A 40-year-old spinster. Who would be willing to say such a thing if it happened to her? Suddenly, she felt warm in her ears. A gentle voice came. Xiaoying, I'll be gentle. When Yi Huanyan called Ling Zhan for the 8th time, the sound of a car turning off finally came from the entrance of the old house. Ling Zhan came back. Against the wind and snow, he held Fu Yingxiang's hand. His face was glowing. Yi Huanyan and Ling Han exchanged a look. Neither of them said anything and waited for Ling Zhan to introduce himself. Chris was in the room with the child. Only Ling Dongyu came out. His clear peach blossom eyes, which had not been stained by wind and frost for so many years, glanced at Ling Zhan's hand. Let's go in first. It's cold outside. Ling Zhan nodded. He held Fu Yingxiang's hand tightly and entered the room. The hot pot in the dining room was boiling. The people at the table were sitting in the chairs and chatting. Wan Yi and Ling Li had bad tempers. They bickered after a few words. Chris occasionally scolded Ling Li, but her tone was not harsh. No one took it seriously. Ling Li walked in holding a woman's hand. He walked directly to Chris. Mum. Chris looked up. She hadn't seen her son for a long time. She couldn't hide the joy in her eyes. The moment she looked up, she was stunned. Her son was holding a woman's hand. This is... Mom, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend, Fu Yingxiang. Facing his son's sudden action, Chris nodded his head in confusion. Hello. Fu Yingxiang's face stiffened. Hello. I'm going to marry her. Fu Yingxiang was shocked when she said that. She pulled Ling Zhan's hand and said in a low voice, Are you crazy? Only then did Chris come back to his senses, and his expression changed. Get married. Have you thought it through? By this time, Yi Huanyan had already caught up with them. Seeing this, she hurriedly whispered a few words into the ears of her parents. Naneo and the rest of the group retreated, leaving the house to their family. I've thought it through. Ling Zhan's voice rang out. Chris frowned and looked at Fu Yingxiang for a while with a complicated expression. Then, she looked up at Ling Dongyu, who was sitting opposite her with his legs crossed and a nonchalant expression on his face. I don't object, but I want to know why you're acting so strangely today. Is it because you want to tell me that you want to get married? Yes. Chris frowned even deeper. He looked at Fu Yingxiang hesitantly. Are you pregnant? Fu Yingxiang's face turned pale. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this question. Pregnant? Half an hour ago, it was her first time. Even if she got pregnant, she wouldn't be able to find out today. No. She hurriedly explained. Chris heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Ling Dongyu again. Oh, that's good. Then you two can get married. I don't have any objections. This is your own matter. Fu Yingxiang's eyes trembled. Ah. What was this? What did he mean by get married? I don't have any objections? Ling Zhan, on the other hand, looked overjoyed. She hugged Chris and kissed him on both cheeks. Thank you, Mommy. Only Ling Dongyu, who was sitting opposite her, had a mischievous look on his face. After dinner, Ling Zhan announced the news at the table. Fu Yingxiang, who had always been a calm person, lost her rationality when she heard about marriage. However, no one objected. Amidst the cheers, she was inexplicably proposed to. She even accepted a jade bracelet and a necklace from Kesley and Ling Zhan's grandmother after dinner. After dinner, Chris painted her face in front of the mirror and hummed an English song. Ling Dongyu just came in and sat sideways at the table beside her. He lowered his head and talked to her. You agreed to our Zhan's marriage just like that? Kesley looked up at him. That's his own matter. I don't think there's anything wrong with that girl called Fu Yingxiang. She seems to be a little older than our son. But it doesn't matter. I think she has a good temper. She's not pregnant either. This shows that our son has thought it through and is better than before. Ling Dongyu's expression changed slightly when he was exposed. He coughed dryly and changed the topic. Haven't you thought about it? If that girl... if there's nothing wrong with that girl, why is our son acting like he's facing a formidable enemy today? Chris was slightly stunned. Why? She's 15 years older than our son. Chris's expression froze. She suddenly stood up from the chair. What did you say? Sit down. Ling Dongyu pressed on her shoulders and forced her to sit back down. His face was calm. But you've already agreed to this matter. If you go back on your words now, are you waiting for our son to fall out with you? Is what you said true or not? Chris didn't dare to believe this fact. She didn't see anything wrong with a 15-year age gap. This woman was too good at maintaining her appearance. She looked like she was less than 30 years old. She thought that she was at most 5 years older than her son. I've asked Yen. This is true. Ling Dongyu said with certainty. So? Chris looked at him doubtfully. The calmness on her face was far beyond Ling Dongyu's expectations. She's married and has a child, right? No. Then why are you pressing on me? I'm afraid that you'll find fault with her. Ling Dongyu said earnestly. Let me tell you, at this time, a man is more mature. Listen to me. Don't go against the child. Why would I find fault with her? Chris pushed Ling Dongyu's hand away unhappily. I'm going to ask her how she maintains her appearance and what skincare products she uses. She's only 3 years younger than me. This is unbelievable. Ling Dongyu was greatly disappointed by Chris's reaction. No, you really don't mind at all? Why would I mind? Chris rolled her eyes at him. She stood up, put on a coat, and was about to go out. My father didn't mind when I was pregnant and married you. You still want to care about Ajan? Chris's words made Ling Dongyu speechless. He originally wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to establish the prestige of the family, but his fantasy was shattered in an instant. Why did this happen? As a mother, how could she be so open-minded to this extent? Ling Dongyu looked at the sky, his face full of bitterness. On the other side, in Naneo's room not far away, his little uncle, the little bean, welcomed him. The little bean was only 1 year older than Naneo. He looked like a doll. My mommy said that I should call you uncle. Nao's face was filled with reluctance. She frowned and looked at the guy who had occupied her bed. But I don't want to call you uncle. Chapter 554. But, Sister Yen Yen said that you should call me little uncle. Look. The little bean was fiddling with his chubby little fingers as he solemnly looked at Nao, who was half a head taller than him. My big brother, you call him big uncle. My second sister, you call her second aunt. My third sister, you call her third aunt. That makes me your little uncle. Naneo frowned. What's your name? Little bean. Big name. Ling Xiao. Okay, Ling Xiao. I'll call you that from now on. I'm Gu Yao. You can call me that. That's it. If you don't agree, you'll sleep on the floor tonight. Now crossed its arms and put on a threatening face. The little bean swallowed his saliva and said timidly, Mommy said that I'll have a stomachache if I sleep on the floor. Sleep. There weren't many people his age who could talk to Naneo. He was more tolerant of girls, but he couldn't be bothered with boys. After saying this, he climbed onto the bed and crawled under the blankets. Naneo. The little bean's voice sounded beside him. It was soft and gentle, with a hint of fear. I'm afraid of the dark. Can I sleep with the lights on? No, I can't sleep with the lights on. Naneo's dull voice sounded from under the blankets. After a moment of silence, the little bean's voice sounded again. Naneo, I'm really afraid of the dark. I can't sleep. Naneo lifted the blankets impatiently. In the dark, he saw that the little guy was still sitting beside him. He didn't lie down and blinked at him, not at all afraid of the dark. Is this what you look like when you're afraid of the dark? Why would a man be afraid of the dark? I'm really afraid. Can you be quieter? I like to talk when I'm afraid of the dark. Naneo was speechless. He glared at him and said, Then what do you want? How do you sleep at home? I slept in the same bed as my third sister. My third sister would tell me stories and then pat my shoulder to coax me to sleep. Then go find your third sister. But third sister is in the same room as second sister today. I'm afraid that second sister. Enough. Naneo gritted his teeth and looked like he had reached the limit of his patience. He lifted the quilt and turned on the light. He glared at the little guy in front of him and almost kicked him down. After looking at each other for a long time, her big round eyes landed on his shoulder. Naneo, your pajamas are so pretty. It was a pink Hello Kitty. Yi Huanyan had bought it for him. She was really his mother. In the end, Naneo had no choice but to lift his quilt and let the little guy crawl in. He kept patting his shoulder and waited for him to fall asleep before he turned off the light. He yawned and leaned on his shoulder to sleep. In the middle of the night, Yi Huanyan put on a jacket and looked around. The two children were sleeping soundly. Of the two quilts that she had prepared, only one was left. It was crooked and covered her son's body. Little Bean's belly was exposed. She quickly picked up the quilt and covered him. Her son had been strong since he was young. She didn't know if he bullied others. At midnight, they started to set off firecrackers to welcome the god of wealth. The sound of firecrackers didn't stop for the rest of the night. The house had good sound insulation, but it couldn't withstand the bombardment outside. No one slept well the whole night. There were many people who talked the whole night. Ling Dongyu originally wanted to improve his status in the family. In the end, he waited in his room until midnight. When he was woken up by the sound of firecrackers, he realized that his wife wasn't back yet. Chris carried a bunch of snacks and went straight to Fu Yingxiang's room. He chatted with her until midnight. Ling Dongyu was furious. His status in the family was already low. Now that he had a future daughter-in-law who had a higher status than him, how could he let this go? So, he put on a jacket and angrily knocked on the door. He forcefully dragged his wife back into the house. When he left, Chris still looked like he wanted to continue. "Hey, it's that beauty salon. I've used 2 of them. They're the popular ones on the market. But the effect isn't very good. They're very average. Do you want to use them?" "I don't use those. I rarely use them. I mainly focus on fitness." "Okay, let's go. I'll teach you fitness when we get back. I promise you'll look 10 years younger." After closing the door, Fu Yingxiang breathed a sigh of relief. She turned around and looked at the closet. It hadn't moved for a few hours. Did he suffocate to death? She quickly ran over and opened the closet door. There was a burst of laughter from inside. "You're still laughing." She frowned and rebuked. "I was scared to death. I told you not to look for me tonight, but you insisted on coming. Fortunately, your father took your mother away. Otherwise, you'd have to stay in the closet until tomorrow morning." Ling Zhan came out from the pile of clothes. The moment he got out of the closet, he pulled Fu Yingxiang into his arms. "Look, nothing happened. My mother likes you very much." "That's right. You almost became my sworn sister." Fu Yingxiang was a little helpless. Chris was only 5 years older than her. He really couldn't call her mother. It was not easy to ignore the issue of age. Ling Zhan nestled on her shoulder and rubbed her face. He looked like he was ready to do something. She held his restless hands. "What? Good sister, let's continue." "Continue what?" "Continue what we were doing just now." "I'm tired. Go back to sleep." Fu Yingxiang blushed. "Don't push your luck. You smell so good." Ling Zhan twirled his fingers around her hair. His voice was gentle and husky, tinged with lust. The young man had opened the floodgates, but once he opened the floodgates, he couldn't stop. He was unstoppable. Amid the sound of firecrackers, the old house was filled with joy. Ji Xiaoye and Gu Xinyan's wedding was scheduled for after the New Year. After the New Year, the couple had to return to Los Angeles to prepare. The original plan was to go through the traditional process on the wedding day. They would pick up Ji Xiaoye from her hometown and fly straight to the Four Seasons villa. However, with the appearance of such a child, the plan was no longer safe. Thus, they decided to directly take the route from a villa in Los Angeles to the Four Seasons villa. When it came to the wedding, Wan Yi was overjoyed. Before the new year, she had been talking about the various wedding preparations. The Four Seasons villa hadn't held a happy event for many years. Her son had found his lifelong happiness and was about to become a father. Wasn't this a double blessing? On the morning of the first day of the new year, the second young mistress of West Court sat at the main table. Beside her sat Gu Hang and his wife, and on the other side sat her son and daughter-in-law. Below them stood a large family. One by one, they came forward to give their New Year's greetings and red packets. The younger generation laughed and laughed for a while, holding a lot of red packets and thinking about how to spend them. The second young mistress' hair was already white. She looked at the family of children and grandchildren with a loving expression. Suddenly, she waved in the direction of Yi Huanyan. Come here." In the past few years, the second young mistress of West Court's health had been deteriorating. There were problems with her ears and eyes, and her consciousness was also intermittent. Sometimes, she would call her son Chris, and other times, she would call her grandson Ling Dongyu. The family also followed her wishes and never objected. Chapter 555. At this moment, old madam seemed to have mistaken Yi Huanyan for someone else and kept waving her hand. Ling Dongyu frowned and glanced at Yi Huanyan, hinting for her to follow old madam's wishes. Yi Huanyan nodded and hurriedly walked over. She obediently bent down and leaned closer to old madam. "Second young mistress, are you calling for me?" Old madam grumbled. "Eldest sister-in-law, why are you following the children and calling me that? You're making me sound old." Eldest sister-in-law. Everyone present was stunned and had different expressions on their faces. Yi Huanyan was the first to react. Old madam had mistaken her for Lu Zhen. Old madam had passed away 7 years ago, but no one could forget what she had done for this family. She had lost her husband in her middle years and her son 10,000 years later. How strong must her heart be to be able to support such a big family? Yi Huanyan was silent for a few seconds and gently patted second young mistress's hand. "You're not old. The children are all grown up. It's easy for them to remember you if you call me that." Second young mistress's cloudy eyes shone with a pure light. Even though her eyes were full of wrinkles, they could not hide the simplicity that came from her heart. "Eldest sister-in-law, you told me on the phone 2 days ago that Yen Yen suddenly came to you to talk about marriage. Why did you hang up before you finished talking?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. "Marriage? That should have been 7 years ago. I like Yen Yen too. Where can I find such a good girl? That grandson of yours, I don't want to say this, but his temper is really bad. He'll suffer in the future. It's my fault that my parents didn't take care of him when he was young. It's a good thing that this girl likes him. We should keep the goodies within the family. Nowadays, which girl isn't pampered and spoiled? Only that girl of yours. I like her." Everyone in the room gradually fell silent as she repeatedly talked about what happened in the past. "Mom," Chris tried to call out, trying to interrupt her. The past should not be mentioned too much. If it was mentioned too much, it would only lead to sad tears. Ling Han had been standing behind Wan Yi and Gu Heng. At this moment, he was staring at Yi Huanyan motionlessly. There were thousands of emotions in his eyes that he could not describe. "Are you married?" second young mistress suddenly asked. Yi Huanyan quickly said, "Yes, we've been married for a long time." "Where's the marriage certificate?" Yi Huanyan was still in a daze when a clear voice sounded behind her. "Here. Second mistress." She turned out that he had it to keep to him to old madam to keep it safe. The 2 marriage certificate had to be kept to himself. 2 had kept Gu had kept, and kept master to keep it in perfect 2 to him to keep it to old madam to him to keep to himself to keep. Keeping. He had kept to him to be kept to him keeping 2 to him to old madam too. Inzes. To him to old his to him. To master toy too. Was moved says to be long was. To her. Was. After so many years, they had been deeply in love. There was no reason to make things difficult for him. Second young mistress opened the marriage certificate with trembling hands. Looking at the couple on the certificate, she smiled with wrinkles all over her face. Good. You're married. Good. What about the wedding?" Everyone was stunned. Yi Huanyan was also stunned. She did not know how to answer. Did the wedding from 7 years ago count? They did not have any relatives or friends. They had only arranged a wedding at the old residence when old madam was dying. A familiar voice came from the side. "Soon. We're preparing. You still have to attend the wedding." Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Han in surprise. Actually, she had never thought of holding a wedding. After so many years of ups and downs, a wedding would not make a difference. She admitted that she did not care much about formalities. Besides, both of them were busy now and did not have the time to arrange such things. Second young mistress was overjoyed. She smiled and held Ling Han's hand. She looked at Yi Huanyan and said, "Eldest sister-in-law, your grandson is more like a human now." Yi Huanyan's mouth twitched. Why did these words sound so awkward? On the eve of New Year's Eve, a heavy snow covered the outside with a layer of pure white. A night of firecrackers covered the pure white snow with spots of vermilion. From afar, it looked festive and auspicious. Yi Huanyan personally cooked and prepared a sumptuous lunch. It was crowded around a large round table. Second young mistress sat at the head of the table facing the south. Yi Huanyan's parents and her son and daughter-in-law's family were on her left and right respectively. Ling Han was busy feeding Naneo. Naneo did not throw a tantrum. He obediently put on a fiery red sweater and sat between Yi Huanyan and Ling Han to eat. During the meal, second young mistress kept staring at Yi Huanyan. She did not move her eyes away for a long time. Yi Huanyan smiled and said, "Second young mistress, eat. Is the food not to your taste?" Second young mistress was stunned for a few seconds. Her eyes suddenly became clear. Eldest sister-in-law, before the wedding, Yan Yan's family met with Ah Han's maternal grandfather's family? Yi Huanyan was stunned. Not yet. Eldest sister-in-law, you are wrong. Ah Han's parents left early. Yan Yan grew up in our family, but at least there are relatives and friends on both sides. She needs to interact with them more. It can be considered as recognition. Only when the family acknowledges her will she be magnanimous. We can't let Yan Yan be wronged. They are preparing to meet? Second young mistress, eat. Ling Han's voice sounded at the right time. He did not allow second young mistress to continue nagging. Yi Huanyan glanced at him. Seeing that his expression was normal, she did not ask further. She just thought that he was just following the old lady's words. Just like in the morning, he was just casually saying it. After all, second young mistress was old. After lunch, she began to doze off. Chris hurriedly helped her to the bedroom in West Park to rest. At the dining table, everyone was in groups. Yi Huanyan and Ling Han, Ling Dongyu and Chris, Ling Zhan and Fu Yingxiang, Naneo and Little Bean, Ling Li and Gu Min. No one was alone. Everyone was happy and harmonious. No one knew when Ling Shui ran out. When she came back, she was shouting excitedly. There are people outside who are here to pay New Year's greetings. Everyone at the table looked at each other. New Year's greetings? The old mansion had been empty for a few years. Who else would come to visit? It's a handsome guy. He's very handsome, just like in Korean dramas. Ling Shui's face was flushed. She looked excited. Who? Where? Let me see. Upon hearing this, the first one to jump up was Ling Li. Gu Min was very calm and continued eating. However, when she heard Ling Shui add, "He looks like Zhang Dongjian," she immediately jumped up. Where? The three sisters were pushing and shoving at the door. Ling Li stared at the man who came in with 2 bags in the middle of the yard. After a while, the corners of her mouth twitched. Damn. Shui, are you blind? Gu Min squeezed her way out. She stared at the man for 2 seconds before silently turning around to continue eating. Ling Shui stared at the handsome man who was less than 2 meters away from her. She was shocked. Sis, you know each other? Ling Li rolled his eyes at her and said unhappily, "He's Minmin's second brother." After saying that, she went back to her seat and sat down. She muttered softly, "Handsome my ass." Shui didn't wear contact lenses when she went out. Gu Min acted as if he was not her brother. She nodded in agreement. "I'm a little blind. How can my brother compare to my idol, Zhang Dongjian? I think Su Zhixie is more handsome. Anyway, he's more good-looking than those young men. Isn't that right?" The 2 people who were supposed to go out to greet Gu Qi came back to chat. Ling Shui ran excitedly to get closer to him. "Handsome, are you Minmin's brother?" Chapter 556. Haiyan Media's annual celebration had just ended the day before yesterday. Originally, Yi Huanyan had invited Gu Qi to spend the new year with her, but he had insisted on staying in the city center. He had said that he wanted to keep an eye on the box office of Remaining Life during the new year to prevent anything from happening. Now, he was here to give his New Year greetings to his parents, which was a tradition at the Four Seasons Villa every year. My brother is still busy with the wedding, so he asked me to come. I can't break the rules. Gu Qi put down the New Year gifts and bowed respectfully to Gu Hang and her husband. Gu Heng smiled. In her arms was a red packet that she had prepared a long time ago. She put it together with Wan Yi's and handed it over. You're making it sound so nice. You're here for a red packet, right? Ling Li, who was next to him, curled her lips with a look of disdain. Gu Qi didn't react. He looked at Ling Li as if he was looking at an insensible little girl. Ling Han, on the other hand, glared at Ling Li and asked in return, "You didn't ask for one?" Yi Huanyan hurried to the kitchen to get a set of cutlery and forced Gu Qi to sit down for lunch. At the dining table, Ling Li and Gu Qi stared at each other, looking like they didn't get along. The two of them would argue for a long time over what to eat. Ling Han was very dissatisfied with his sister's lack of etiquette. He threw a warning look several times, but it was ignored. Later, Ling Li and Gu Qi got into a fight. For some reason, she overturned the wine glass in front of her and spilled milk on Gu Qi. The crowd was in chaos. Yi Huanyan hurriedly helped Gu Qi stand up. Ling Shui, who was next to them, happened to pass a tissue to him to wipe. Ling Li. This time, it was Chris who lost his temper. "It's the new year. What are you doing?" Ling Li's expression changed, and he immediately deflated. The atmosphere at the table suddenly became tense. Gu Qi was tactful. He pushed away Ling Zhan's hand with a smile and said that he would go to the bathroom to take care of it. Ling Zhan was about the same size as him, and they had a good relationship during this time. She pointed in the direction of her bedroom and asked him to change his clothes. "There's a closet on the right side of the door in my room. There are clean clothes in there. If you don't mind, Brother Gu Qi, you can change into my clothes first." "That would be troublesome." "It's no trouble at all." Ling Zhan quickly stood up. "Let's go. I'll take you there." Seeing that his son was polite, Chris's expression eased up a little. She had given birth to so many children, but the one that worried her the most was the second daughter, Ling Li. She didn't know if it was because this name was not right, but the things that she did every day were sparks and sparks, which made her angry. Ling Li had always been afraid of Christian. Even at this age, it was still the same. After being scolded, he immediately shrank his neck and didn't dare to speak again. He couldn't bear to lose face, so he had an awkward expression and looked like he had been wronged. Yi Huanyan knew that the little girl was thin-skinned, so she quickly helped to smooth things over. "Why are you so serious?" "Second aunt, it's just the younger generation playing around. Gu Qi is an adult, and he has known Ling Li for a long time. They are just playing around. I've never seen a girl as noisy as her." As soon as these words came out, Ling Li's face immediately darkened. She slammed the table and stood up, almost roaring. "Yes, I'm noisy. I can't compare to your other children. I'll leave, okay?" As soon as she finished speaking, the people around her couldn't hold her back. She opened the door curtain and ran out. Yi Huanyan hurriedly gave Gu Min a look, asking her to follow her out. "Second aunt, why bother?" Yi Huanyan frowned, puzzled. Chris was usually a very gentle person. She was very kind to Ling Zhan, Shui, Little Bean, and even Fu Yingxiang, her daughter-in-law who had not married into the family yet. However, she was at odds with Ling Li and had been scolding him since they were young. Chris frowned and felt a little helpless when he heard that. Yi Huanyan gave Ling Han a look, and Ling Han tried to smooth things over. "She's just throwing a tantrum. She'll be fine in the afternoon. Let's eat." After that, Ling Dongyu told another joke, and the atmosphere at the table gradually warmed up. Yi Huanyan left the table and pulled Chris into the room to chat. After closing the door, they were separated from the noise in the room. "It's not that I want to say this, Chris. Look at you. You're always so kind to other people. Why are you so strict with Ling Li since she was young? She's just a little more mischievous than other kids. She's already grown up." Chris furrowed his eyebrows and didn't express any opinion. Yen, it's not that I'm strict with her. It's just that she's different from other children since she was young. I have to discipline her." How is she different? My Naneo's temperament is always different from other children. I don't think she's different from other children. It's not that. It's Ling Li. She doesn't have a correct sense of right and wrong since she was young. She's a little evil. If we leave her alone, she'll go astray. This was the first time Yi Huanyan heard a mother say that her own child was a little evil. She was puzzled and even a little amused. Chris, don't tell me you've read her fortune. No, Chris sighed. It's all because of the things that happened when we were young. Look at the burn on Shue'er's hand. When she was young, Ling Li burned her hand with a pair of tongs. What happened? Yi Huanyan's expression changed. In order to snatch the doll, when Ling Li was 5 years old, I bought her a doll. Shue'er was still young at that time and refused to let go of the doll, so that girl took out a pair of tongs and burned her hand. I remember that Ling Li doesn't like dolls. Yi Huanyan was in disbelief. Not to mention dolls, she didn't even hold something that made a little girl angry. You liked her when you were young, but you never saw her again. That child is too possessive and vengeful. You watched her grow up. When you were young, you were always teased by her. Every single time, it was because you had a little conflict with her. Let's not talk about the distant things, let's talk about the recent things. Look at the matter of you asking your mother to help her with the design drawings. You only said a few words to her, but she still remembered it until now. She took a roundabout way to get revenge and asked your mother to do something for her. These words seem to have been in Chris's heart for a long time. She poured out her grievances to Yi Huanyan and sorted out all the wrong things that Ling Li had done over the years. For a moment, Yi Huanyan almost believed that Ling Li really had the blood of an avenger in her bones. However, after all, she had known Ling Li for so many years. She probably knew more about her than Chris, who had always ignored Shue'er's mother. She was not a person who could be convinced with just a few words. Chris, I think you may be thinking too much. In my impression, Ling Li is a kind child. Sometimes, you still need to communicate with her more. Chris gradually calmed down and sighed for a long time. I really don't know what to do with her. On the other side, Ling Zhan had just led Gu Qi into the bedroom to change clothes. My sister has a bad temper. Please forgive her. Chapter 557. It's okay. She's just a kid. Gu Qi's expression was the same as usual. He didn't seem to be angered by Ling Li's nonsense just now, which made people feel that he was calmer and more peaceful. Ling Zhan spontaneously admired him. After all, few people could tolerate a bratty girl like their sister. As Yi Huanyan's assistant, Gu Qi had always been an omnipotent figure in the eyes of others, and Ling Zhan was no exception. Even though Ling Zhan graduated her doctorate early at the age of 25 and returned to China to participate in scientific research, she was still a teenager who had just graduated. She admired and yearned for Gu Qi's calm aura. Then I'll go out first. I'll wait for you in the dining room. Okay. After the crisp sound of the door closing, Gu Qi's gaze lowered 2 inches and saw the stain on the collar of his shirt. A trace of anger flashed through his mind. He suddenly curled the corners of his mouth and revealed a meaningful smile. The clean shirt wrapped around his muscular arms. Before he could button it up, a cold wind suddenly rushed in from behind, accompanied by the sound of the door hitting the wall and the angry voice of a young girl. Brother, I'm going to pack up and go back to America. Gu Qi stood by the bed with his back to the door. His buttoning hand froze slightly. He had a similar figure to Ling Zhan. The young girl behind him was obviously dizzy with anger. She didn't even look carefully. After closing the door, she opened a cabinet without a care and roared as she rummaged through it. I'm not joking. Mom just doesn't like me. Don't try to persuade me. You can just go back to America. What are you doing here? Nonsense, my suitcase is in your room. Before she finished speaking, Ling Li's voice came to an abrupt stop. Her back stiffened and she turned her head almost mechanically. Using an extremely comical posture, she bent her back and turned her head to the left to look at the man who had already turned around. Her gaze landed on the indistinct 8-pack abs in the middle of the shirt. It was a figure that could make people nosebleed. But at this moment, Lingley had no time to appreciate it. Her gaze quickly moved to his face. When she saw the faint smile on his face, she suddenly straightened up. "Why are you here? What are you doing in my brother's room?" Gu Qi raised his arms and said calmly, "It's obvious." "Obviously my ass, you pervert. What are you doing in my brother's room, you?" The moment he saw the stained shirt beside the bed, Lingley's first reaction was that Gu Qi must be his nemesis. He did not reflect on whether he had spoken too quickly and did not act rationally. But the words had already left his mouth. Even if his reason for coming here was as obvious as what he said, he could only grit his teeth and not say anything. "So what?" Lingley's face flushed red as he flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Don't look like I bullied you." Gu Qi looked at her with interest. He walked toward her and lowered his head to button his shirt. "It seems that since you came in, I've only said 2 sentences, right? If your parents see you talking to me like this, I'm afraid they'll scold you again." As the dangerous person approached, Lingley's face became more and more ugly. She simply took out her suitcase from the cabinet and stared at him while pulling the suitcase. "I don't want to talk to you. If you want to complain, go ahead. My parents and siblings are all in the dining room. You can tell whoever you want." After such a domineering sentence, there was the sound of rolling wheels in the room. "I can't provoke you, but I can hide." Even though Lingley was a little sullen, she had never been so annoyed in her 20 years of life. However, this man named Gu Qi in front of her made her deeply realize that unless she stayed far away from him, she would be in big trouble. But she had to admit that some people were born to be her nemesis. She couldn't hide. For example, at this moment. The suitcase in Lingley's hand was stopped before it could move even half a step. She turned around in annoyance and roared in exasperation. "Are you done yet? I can't provoke you, but I can hide, right? It seems that I can't provoke you, right, Miss?" Gu Qi's face was indifferent. At this moment, he was standing half a meter away. He didn't have a single piece of clothing on his body, and a single strand of hair was stuck to her suitcase. "Did I encounter a ghost?" Lingley looked down and saw a black data cable stuck in front of the wheels of the suitcase. Her pink face was instantly as black as the bottom of a pot. She was going crazy. Who the F***CK threw the data cable on the ground? At this point, it was impossible for her to apologize. She fiercely pulled the suitcase and didn't want to say anything more. She anxiously wanted to leave. But this time, a pair of slender and strong hands directly grabbed her arm and pulled her back. She wasn't prepared and was suddenly pulled back. She screamed and fell on the suitcase. The suitcase turned in an arc and slammed her back into the locker door. With a bang, a shadow appeared in front of her, accompanied by the man's deep and cold voice. "You're leaving just like that?" Lingley only felt that her back had been smashed into pieces. She couldn't even curse. After a long time, she raised her head and glared at Gu Qi angrily. She wanted to get up from the suitcase. A sharp pain came from her shoulder. The force of getting up was fiercely pushed back. Her entire body fell back down. Gu Qi's hands were strong and strong. At this moment, he firmly pinned her shoulders to the locker door. And when he leaned over, his shirt opened on both sides, revealing his full chest that glowed with a wheat-colored luster. There was a faint woody fragrance around him that filled the air and disturbed people's souls. "What are you doing?" Lingley raised her face. Her oval face had a bit of a heroic spirit between her brows. Her bright eyes were unyielding and full of stubbornness. One look and you could tell that she had never suffered any setbacks and was a little flower that grew up in a greenhouse. Those glasses were too clean. It was so clean that people couldn't help but want to let her have a taste of defeat. Gu Qi only felt his mind shake. He couldn't help but throw out such a sentence. "I'll teach you on behalf of your parents what the ways of the world are." Lingley suddenly widened her eyes, but she couldn't struggle. She could only watch as the man in front of her leaned over. That cold and handsome face suddenly enlarged. The moment it blurred the focus, She seemed to see a trace of a smile in his eyes. His lips were cool, like a mountain spring passing by, but it was enough to stir up 1,000 waves in her heart. Just as she was in a daze, her teeth were suddenly pushed open. A cold fragrance mixed with the unique woody fragrance of his body spread on the tip of her tongue. It was like the ice and snow had just melted, the earth had warmed up, and all living things had come back to life. The moment their lips and teeth intertwined, a volcano erupted. Woo! Along with an extremely strange sound from her throat, she suddenly found a trace of reason. She didn't know where she got the strength, but she suddenly closed her eyes and used all her strength to slam into his face. When Gu Qi reacted, a cold wind had already swept through the room. The suitcase spun in place, and the girl ran without a trace. Chapter 558. Gu Qi rubbed his forehead that was dizzy from the collision. It took him a long time to regain his senses. The Chuan character between his eyebrows gradually melted away. Looking at the direction where the girl disappeared, the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a meaningful smile. His iron head technique was pretty good. Yi Huanyan comforted Chris for a long time and quietly listened to Chris pour out all the bitterness of raising Lingli for so many years. Only then did Chris's mood improve. It turned out that whether it was Chinese or foreigners, open education or traditional education, adolescent girls and menopausal mothers were mortal enemies. This was a very common occurrence. "Let's go back and eat. Everyone's waiting," Yi Huanyan persuaded. Chris nodded and was about to follow Yi Huanyan out when she suddenly remembered something. "Hey, I think I just cried and ruined my makeup. Let me touch it up." "You go first." Yi Huanyan laughed. Foreign women like to maintain a delicate image at all times. This was indeed different from her. After returning to the dining room, they waited for a while before Ling Zhan came back. "What took you so long?" Ling Han asked casually. "I went to the restroom. Gu Qi was changing in my room, so I went to the restroom in the backyard." "How's my mother?" "She's fine." Yi Huanyan smiled. "It's just a mother and daughter quarreling. What can happen?" When Yi Huanyan was explaining to Ling Zhan, she saw a shadow at the door. It seemed that she saw Ling Li running over. The way she ran was a little strange. She covered her face with her hands. It was as strange as it could be. She was stunned. Since there were so many people present, she did not chase after her to ask. After lunch, Yi Huanyan booked the entire theater in the city center to watch a movie. She also invited Su Nianhua and his family to watch the movie. Zheng Rou was holding Jingjing's hand. She was wearing a small floral cotton-padded jacket, a bunny ear hat, and a white scarf around her neck. She looked very cute. After sweetly calling Yi Huanyan Auntie Yen Yen, Yi Huanyan gave her a red packet. Jingjing looked back at Zhang Rou. After Zhang Rou nodded, she thanked her and accepted the red packet. "Jingjing is so good." Yi Huanyan rubbed Jingjing's little hat. "Can you sit with Naneo's seat?" Jingjing raised her head to look at Zhang Rou. "Go ahead." Zhang Rou nodded. When Yi Huanyan saw this, she felt a little helpless. After the children sat together, Yi Huanyan looked up at Zhang Rou. "I haven't seen you in a long time. I've been telling Lu Shan that I hope we can get together." Zhang Rou smiled distantly. "You're busy. Although I'm a housewife, I still have to take care of the children. It's better for my husband to attend gatherings." For so many years, Zhang Rou was used to calling Su Nianhua Brother Hua. Now that she suddenly changed the way she called him and called him so intimately, Yi Huanyan was stunned. In the end, she still couldn't get over it. Well, she didn't insist. She smiled and said, "Then I'll leave this row for you, your wife, and the children. I'll sit behind with Ling Han." Zhang Rou thanked her. Her tone was still polite and distant. After they were seated, the theater staff turned off the lights. The movie started to play the commercial. Zhang Rou leaned close to Su Nianhua's shoulder and lowered her voice. "My attitude just now didn't embarrass you, did it?" A trace of helplessness appeared in Su Nianhua's eyes. He smiled and squeezed her hand. "Let's watch the movie." Zhang Rou pouted and said unhappily, "Why do you have the same expression as Yi Huanyan? No wonder she's your first love. The chemistry between the two of you is giving me goosebumps. I'm angry." "If you were really angry, you wouldn't be talking to me now." "Don't push your luck," Zhang Rou snorted. "I'm not here to watch this movie for her. I'm here for you. I didn't say that I wanted to shake hands with her. If you don't want to, then don't. No one can force you." Zhang Rou found that no matter how she threw a tantrum, Su Nianhua would just go along with her. He knew that she was amenable to persuasion but not coercion. Therefore, no matter how unreasonable she was to quarrel with him, he would always be calm and collected. Instead, she couldn't keep up the act. It was like punching cotton and wasting her energy. Yi Huanyan moved to the back row. A while after the movie started, Ling Han arrived with Wan Yi and Gu Heng. Yi Huanyan waved at him and motioned for him to come to the back row. "Where did you guys go? Why are you so late?" Ling Han was sweating. "Nothing much. I accompanied Mom to the nearby shopping mall for a while and was delayed for a while." "Why did you go shopping with my mom? Did you pay for it?" Yi Huanyan frowned. Without waiting for Ling Han's reply, she turned around and questioned Wen Yi, who had just sat down in the back row. "Mom, isn't it enough that you asked my dad to go shopping with you? Why do you have to have a retinue around you?" Wan Yi had just sat down, and before she could even warm up, she was already scolded by her daughter. She was stunned. "Why would I have a retinue around me? It's all because of you, you brat." "Because of me? You?" Wan Yi gritted her teeth and thought for a long time. She seemed to be weighing the pros and cons. In the end, she swallowed the second half of her sentence and glanced at her from the corner of her eyes. "I bought 2 new pieces of jewelry for you. Look at how bare your neck is when you go out. People will laugh at me. The daughter of a jewelry designer doesn't even have a piece of jewelry." Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. "It's not like you don't know that I don't like to wear jewelry." Chapter 559. At the beginning of the movie, everyone was whispering, and the kids were chattering non-stop. After all, there were no outsiders present, so no one cared. After the movie started, the voices gradually quieted down. At first, there were still the voices of 3 kids talking, but later, someone shushed them, and they all shut up. Yi Huanyan looked in the direction of the shushing sound and saw Zhang Rou's back. She didn't know when she had cut her hair short, but her beautiful hair was cut neatly and neatly. Even though she was a mother, she still had a strong youthful vibe. Half an hour after the movie started, there were sniffling sounds in the theater. It wasn't very obvious, and there weren't too exaggerated crying sounds. This was within Yi Huanyan's expectations. From start to finish, Remaining Life only had 2 tears, but they weren't the type where one would cry bitterly. One was when the male lead passed by the female lead at school on his way back to China, but they coincidentally met at the school's car repair shop. Neither of them said anything, just looked at each other. Time passed quickly, and all kinds of scenes flashed by, making people tear up. The other tears only appeared at the end of the movie. In just 5 minutes, the male lead found out that the female lead had disappeared without a trace, just like 5 years ago. The male lead rushed to the airport like a madman, but couldn't find her. What he thought was a tragedy happened at the last second of the movie. The female lead appeared in the male lead's apartment, wearing an apron, preparing a table full of food, and told him, "Where did you go?" The male lead's face was pale, and he pulled her into his arms. "On the way to the airport, I passed by the market and remembered that 2 days ago, you said that you hadn't eaten my cooking and didn't believe that I could cook, so I got out of the car, bought the ingredients, and cooked." Guan Nai's face was warm. "I was thinking that I might not be able to catch the flight. So I waited at home for you to come back for dinner and tell you a piece of news." "What?" "I'm pregnant." At the end of the movie, the shock on Su Nianhua's face gradually turned into a big smile as he picked Guan Nai up. As the world spun, the ending song and the Easter egg were ushered in. Some of the highlights were things that even Yi Huanyan had not noticed before. They were all edited by the publicity department as an Easter egg for the fans of Su Nianhua and Guan Nai. For some reason, they had edited a scene from when they were in France. It was probably a prank, and there was no way to find out who started it. Perhaps it was because the female lead in the script was unwilling to speak her mind from the beginning to the end, so Guan Nai self-directed and acted in a reverse drama. In the behind-the-scenes footage, Guan Nai wore a little black dress and was lazily nestled in her chair while rehearsing lines with Su Nianhua. Although she was lazy, she had the domineering look of a queen. Say, "Do you love me?" or Bai Ling? Bai Ling was the character played by Shang Enren in the movie. In the movie, Su Nianhua was loved by everyone who saw him. Not only did a woman feel like a couple with him, but even the second male lead, Bai Yu, inexplicably felt like a couple with him. The Pisces couple had once become a cult on the internet. After Guan Nai asked the question, Su Nianhua played a poker face in all seriousness. "You. Do you love me or Zhao Iran?" "Love you." "Do you love me or Bai Yu?" "Love you." "Do you love me or Chen Xiaoro?" "Love you." "Do you love me or Zheng Ro?" "Zheng Ro." After this, the staff in the back booed and laughed mockingly. "Who is Zheng Ro?" At the end of the movie, the staff's question was heard. There was a very soft but clear voice. "My wife, the person I love the most." Yi Huanyan clearly felt Zhang Ro's back stiffen. His shoulders, which were originally shaking slightly because of the touching scenes of the movie, suddenly shook violently at a certain moment. There was even a faint sobbing sound. The movie had completely finished rolling. Director Yi Huanyan's name appeared on the big screen at the end of the movie. She stared at it for a long time and suddenly felt relieved. The most beautiful thing in the world was to realize one's dream and have someone to share it with. After coming out of the theater, the three children and Ling Shui rushed into the bathroom separately. Ling Dongyu and Chris also followed the children into the bathroom separately. Before Chris went in, Yi Huanyan stopped him and said a few words. "Help me take a look at the little girl inside. Her name is Jingjing. She's Lu Shen, Su Nianhua's daughter." Yi Huanyan looked behind her. Zheng Ro had not come out of the hall yet. When they came out, they saw Su Nianhua comforting her. Ling Li and Gu Qi came out of the hall behind her. The two of them stared at each other as they walked, communicating with their eyes. Yi Huanyan looked behind them. "Where's Ling Han?" Gu Qi's expression returned to normal. "He just left. Didn't he go with you?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. "No." When they first came out, she was walking side by side with Ling Han. However, when they were at the door, the children and Ling Shui rushed out from behind and separated them. Yi Huanyan was afraid that the children would fall, so she quickly chased after them. She kept thinking that Ling Han was still in the theater and had not come out. "I think he left with your parents. You didn't see him?" The bathroom and the exit were in opposite directions. If Ling Han had left during the chaos just now, Yi Huanyan indeed did not see him. She frowned and called Ling Han. "You left?" "Yes. Mom and Dad are tired. I'll send them back to rest first. Then I'll go with you. Wait for me for 2 minutes. I'm already in the car. You can take Gu Qi's car back. It's not a big deal. I'm coming." The car is gone. It's not convenient to pick up the phone. "I'll hang up first." Sigh. Before Yi Huanyan could finish speaking, the phone was cut off with a beep. Yi Huanyan frowned and paced in front of the bathroom for a few seconds. Then she called Wan Yi. "Mom, where are you?" "I just came out with your dad. We haven't bought the necklace that we saw before. Your dad is accompanying me to buy it. You haven't gotten in the car yet?" "No. Ling Han said that he has something to do. He'll pick us up later. You can go first. Don't wait for me and your dad. We want to go shopping." Okay. Go shopping." After hanging up the phone, Yi Huanyan leaned against the wall. Her eyes inexplicably dimmed. Ling Han was not with her parents at all. She had a feeling that Ling Han was hiding something from her. On the other end of the phone, Wen Yi hung up the phone with a smug smile on her face. What's the point of teasing your own daughter like this? Gu Heng glanced at her. Her eyes were full of affection. What do you know? This is called suppressing one's desire to show off. That guy wants to take advantage of you. How can Yen Yen be so happy? As Wen Yi spoke, she looked at the tall figure behind the diamond counter. Is this the best diamond you have here? His clear voice was calm and there was a hint of warmth in his eyes. Chapter 560. Before Yi Huanyan could figure out why Ling Han lied to her, she heard a voice calling her from behind. Yen Yen. She turned around and saw a pair of red and swollen eyes. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She looked over her shoulder and saw Su Nianhua, who was a meter behind her. He smiled helplessly and shrugged. Xiao Rou said she had something to say to you, so I won't disturb you. I'll wait for you outside. Zhang Rou nodded at him and turned around to look at Yi Huanyan. She seemed a little nervous. What's wrong? Yi Huanyan didn't know what to say. She wanted to make the atmosphere more relaxed, so she teased her. A lot of people cry in my movie, but it's the first time I've seen someone cry like you. If I take a picture and post it online, it'll be free publicity for my movie. Go ahead. Zhang Rou looked at her with red eyes. Huh? Yi Huanyan thought she was angry, so she quickly waved her hand. I'm just kidding. Don't take it seriously. Zhang Rou bit her lip and looked like she was about to cry. Do you have something to say to me? Yi Huanyan asked carefully. Zhang Rou frowned and said in a muffled voice, It's Jingjing's birthday next month. Brother Hua plans to give her half a small birthday party. Do you want to come? You're inviting me? Yi Huanyan was stunned for a moment and asked for confirmation with doubt. After all, Zhang Rou had been at odds with her for a long time because of Su Nianhua. It was strange that she suddenly changed her attitude after watching a movie. Yi Huanyan didn't understand why Zhang Rou's mood suddenly changed. You don't want to? Zhang Rou frowned. No, Yi Huanyan hesitated for a few seconds and nodded. Of course I want to. When is it? I'll let you know when it's time. After she said this, she turned around and wiped her tears fiercely. Then she walked towards the bathroom. Looking at Zhang Rou's stubbornness, Yi Huanyan felt a little helpless. When they first met, they were in Iceland. The two of them mistook the Icelandic police for robbers and made a blunder. Later, they became friends because of their similar temperaments. No one would have thought that she was Su Nianhua's wife and was already the mother of his child. Her relationship with Su Nianhua in the past was just the ignorance of their youth. It wasn't that deep. Thinking of this, she felt that it was necessary to talk to Zhang Rou. Xiao Rou. She opened her mouth and called out to Zhang Rou, who had just walked to the bathroom door. Yes. Zhang Rou turned around and revealed a puzzled expression. Do you have time now? I want to talk to you. No matter why Zhang Rou's attitude towards her suddenly changed, this change was obviously giving her a chance to explain herself. The children were handed over to Ling Dongyu, his wife, and Su Nianhua. Yi Huanyan and Zhang Rou found a quiet cafe in the shopping mall below the cinema and sat down. What you want to talk to me about today isn't actually Jingjing's birthday, right? Yi Huanyan looked at her with a determined expression. It was a little too early to talk about it at the end of next month. It was also a little far-fetched. It was more like an excuse. Zhang Rou frowned. You just want to talk to me about this? If you don't want to talk about it, then forget it. Just listen to what I have to say. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips and took a deep breath. It's been a year. It's been almost a year since you found out about my identity. I think you've been thinking about a lot more things than I have. Since you're willing to see me now, why don't you listen to what I have to say? What do you want to say? Zhang Rou's frown deepened. It's about the 10 years that you've been brooding over. Yi Huanyan's expression was calm. It was as if those 10 years weren't her 10 years, but only the 10 years in the eyes of others. Your enmity towards me stems from the 10 years that Lu Shen waited for me. The 10 years that he gritted his teeth and insisted on not reconciling with his family because of me. But you should listen to what I think about those 10 years. Don't tell me that the two of you never loved each other. No one will believe you. We loved each other. Yi Huanyan looked at her calmly. Zhang Rou felt a surge of anger in her heart. She got up and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Yi Huanyan stopped her. But whether I loved him or he loved me, it was only 10 years ago. She admitted that her relationship with Su Nianhua was the ignorance of adolescence. It was also the simplest and purest feeling. She couldn't deny that they had loved each other, truly loved each other. But it's not as unforgettable as you think it is. Yi Huanyan's words made Zhang Rou stop in her tracks. She sat down again. For me, if that relationship was so hard to give up, I wouldn't have rejected my foster mother's suggestion to send me abroad. Or rather, I wouldn't have let him go. I don't care what you think. Zhang Rou gritted her teeth. She was still unhappy. Do you think Lu Shen doesn't treat me the same way? Yi Huanyan smiled. If it was so hard to give up, he wouldn't have left back then. In short, she felt that something was missing in her relationship with Lu Shen. Actually, if this hadn't happened back then, I might have broken up with him after dating for a while. I'm not a good match for him. You've been married to him for so many years. You should know him better than I do. He doesn't care about other people's feelings. He only cares about himself. No, Zhang Rou suddenly interrupted Yi Huanyan. You don't have to slander him. He's a very family-oriented person. He's very good to me and Jingjing. He's compromised a lot for us. But he's never compromised for me. Looking at Zhang Rou's stunned expression, Yi Huanyan smiled. Is it unbelievable? When we were dating, I was the one who accommodated him. Whether it was going to an underground concert or staying at McDonald's all day to do homework, it was all his decision. I couldn't change it. In the end, when we were going abroad, he never compromised for me. How deep could a young relationship be? If you loved someone and didn't spend a long time together, then your memories were destined to be thin. So thin that as time passed, you would forget that this person once existed. Did you know? It was the concert that year. On the day I brought you backstage to see him, he threw a tantrum because of the matter with the advertisers. He almost cancelled the concert and refused to give in at all. In the end, it was my 2 assistants and I who ran around to settle the matter. Yi Huanyan's words made Zhang Rou feel a lot of emotions. Su Nianhua had compromised a lot for her. Whether it was announcing their relationship in a high-profile manner before the wedding, causing him to lose a large number of fans, or falling out with several higher-ups at Pleasure and almost being charged with a high penalty for breach of contract, or taking her to get married without telling his company and family, in the end, causing his mother to have high blood pressure. In order to support his family, he had to do commercial performances everywhere. He had to compromise for her. Chapter 561. Zhang Rou had never thought too deeply about what Yi Huanyan said, but when she brought it up, she realized that it was actually a great psychological comfort to her. No matter how unshakable Yi Huanyan's position in Su Nianhua's heart was, it was not as important as the compromises he had made for her and their daughter over the years. These were things he had never done for Yi Huanyan. When you like someone, or when someone likes you, they are willing to break their own principles and compromise for you. So, are you going to continue to be angry with me? Yi Huanyan looked up at her with a hint of a smile in her eyes. Zhang Rou coughed dryly. She looked embarrassed and said softly, Don't you blame me for being cold and indifferent to you for the past 6 months? In my opinion, you've already done very well. Yi Huanyan looked apologetic. After all, if it were any other woman, I'm afraid it would be very difficult for them to accept their husband having a scandal with his first love. It's not a glorious thing to be cuckolded. I'm really grateful for your tolerance in this matter. Zhang Rou was even more embarrassed by her praise. She said sullenly, What's the big deal? Do you think I don't know if there's anything going on between the two of you? There are so many people gossiping, they deserve it. Yeah, they deserve it. Yi Huanyan agreed. Zhang Ro was stunned for a few seconds. She looked up and met Yi Huanyan's sincere eyes. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. The thorn in their hearts silently disappeared. When they came out of the restaurant, Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. The cold air outside entered her nose, and her whole body felt comfortable. The new year was so good. On the way back, they sat in Gu Xinian and Ji Xiaoye's car. Ji Xiaoye and Yi Huanyan sat side by side in the back seat. When they saw Yi Huanyan come out alone, they asked, "Where's Naneo? Why didn't he come out with you?" Xiao Rou and her husband took him home. Yi Huanyan responded. She recalled the way the few children were pulling at the entrance of the cinema when they came out of the restaurant. She couldn't help but laugh. Jingjing insisted that Naneo go home with her. She threw a tantrum in the cinema hall and almost bawled. Zhang Ro and Su Nianhua couldn't do anything. They tried to persuade her but to no avail. "It's the new year and you let your son go with someone? When are you coming back?" "Probably after the new year. Lu Shan and Xiao Rou are going to Xiao Rou's mother's house in the afternoon. They said that they were going to take Naneo with them." "Don't worry. Xiao Rou's mother's house is in a rural area in Hubei. Although her family isn't poor, the facilities in the rural area are not as good as here. I'm afraid that there's not even an internet connection there. Naneo will go crazy." Ji Xiaoye looked worried. "Why don't we chase after them now and bring Naneo back?" Hearing this, Yi Huanyan hurriedly waved her hand. "Boys don't need to be so spoiled. Ling Han has been spoiling him too much recently. I think he's going to climb the roof and take down the tiles." Seeing how absent-minded Yi Huanyan was, Ji Xiaoye looked puzzled. "That's not right. Why do I feel like you're deliberately sending your son away? What are you doing? Are you jealous of your son?" "No." Yi Huanyan frowned. "You're still denying it? Look at your expression. You don't look like you're celebrating the new year. Hurry up. What happened? Come clean and we'll be lenient. Resist and we'll be strict." Ji Xiaoye had known Yi Huanyan for so long that she could guess whether she was in a good or bad mood with just one look. She had been absent-minded since she got into the car and kept looking at her phone. She obviously had something on her mind. "Hey, where's Ling Han? You told us to wait for you over the phone. Aren't you going to take Ling Han's car?" Yi Huanyan's expression changed slightly, and she avoided Ji Xiaoye's gaze. "He sent my parents back first." "What are you saying?" Ji Xiaoye also frowned. "Did something happen?" Gu Xinian's voice came from the driver's seat. His concerned expression was reflected in the rearview mirror. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. In the end, she couldn't hold it in. "I think Ling Han is hiding something from me." "What is it?" Ji Xiaoye's expression changed. "There's a woman outside?" Yi Huanyan's expression changed as well, but she quickly denied it. "He's not that kind of person. It's just that he just told me a lie. A lie that's neither too big nor too small. It was even a lie that she didn't think was necessary." "What is it?" "He told me that he was sending my parents back, but my parents are shopping in the mall and haven't returned yet. However, he has already driven away." "Where do you think he drove to? What do you think he's doing? Why didn't he tell me?" Ji Xiaoye rubbed her chin and pondered for a long time. After a while, she came up with 2 words. "There's something fishy." There's definitely something fishy about this." Ji Xiaoye's expression was dark. "Men turn bad when they have money. Look at him. He just got back his pleasure, and now he's back to his original state of being popular. There are so many beautiful women around him." Before Ji Xiaoye could finish speaking, Gu Xinian's voice came from the front and interrupted her speculation. "Xiao Yu, which woman do you think would dare to steal a man from the second miss of the Gu family?" These words were said in a domineering manner. Even though it was hard to accept, one couldn't help but be convinced. Yes, in the entire Lonjiang city, who would dare to steal a man from the second miss of the Gu family? Since it's not about that, it shouldn't be a problem for a man to have some secrets outside. Just as Ji Xiaoye came to this conclusion, Gu Xinyan's voice came from the front again. I heard that the boss of Zhiheng law firm, Wang Yuewei, has been quite close to Ling Han recently. Last year at the Pleasure's grand opening, Wang Yuewei even sent someone to deliver a blood coral bonsai. Yi Huanyan's face turned pale. Ji Xiaoye reached out and knocked Gu Xinyan's head. Can you not speak so slowly? You just said that no one would dare to steal a man from the second miss of the Gu family. What's up with this Wang Yuewei? Xiao Yu. Gu Xinyan didn't even frown. He was a little helpless. I'm driving. Ji Xiaoye refused to give up. Even if you're driving, you have to give me a clear explanation. Isn't this Wang Yuewei just the boss of some law firm? How dare she steal a man? Wang Yuewei is the daughter of Wang Qing, a member of the capital city's state council. Her uncle is from the National Development and Reform Commission. Yi Huanyan's voice sounded from the side. It was a little dull. There was an old saying that went, people don't fight with businesses, and businesses don't fight with government officials. No matter how big the Gu family's business was, it was under the premise that they had permission to do so. Naturally, they had to bribe people everywhere. Although Wang Yuewei was just the boss of a law firm, her family was in charge of important institutions like the National Development and Reform Commission. Offending her was equivalent to smashing one's own feet on the road to business. Ji Xiaoye also frowned. Damn, don't tell me there's really something fishy going on outside? He's not that kind of person. Yi Huanyan's expression was very certain. What she was worried about was whether this Wang Yuewei had the intention of pestering Ling Han. If she didn't like him, would she secretly make things difficult for him? Chapter 562. No, I think you need to keep an eye on him for the next 2 days. Ji Xiaoye looked serious. Who knows what he's doing behind your back? If necessary, I'll go to the police station to check his recent call records and credit card spending records. There's no need for that. Yi Huanyan looked shocked. Do you usually treat my brother like this? She installed a global positioning system on my phone, so she can know where I am at any time. A resentful voice came from the driver's seat. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. Xiao Yu, that's enough. Look at how you've tortured my brother. If you don't have a guilty conscience, then you should be honest. What's there to torture? If you don't believe me, you can ask your brother if it's torture. Ji Xiaoye looked at the face in the rearview mirror. Yi Huanyan obviously felt that Gu Xinyan's face was a little guilty. It's not torture. It's a show of concern. When these words came out of her brother's mouth, Yi Huanyan felt that the corners of her mouth could no longer be pulled open. Ji Xiaoye's pregnancy had caused the whole family to be in a mess. This so-called prenatal depression had almost made her a Buddha. No one in the family dared to disobey her. Gu Xinyan had endured inhumane torture for several days. Yi Huanyan knew that there were 3 nights when she heard the sound of the garage engine in the middle of the night. Ji Xiaoye wanted to eat French fries, so Gu Xinyan went to all the KFC restaurants in the city in the middle of the night to buy them for her. You'd better keep these methods for yourself. I don't need them. Yi Huanyan hurriedly waved her hand and snorted disdainfully. What was the difference between this and those haggard old women who pestered their husbands to see their husbands' phones to check the purple color of the women around their husbands? At least Ji Xiaoye had the excuse of being pregnant. No one dared to say anything about her domineering behavior, but she couldn't. If you don't want to do it, I will. When Ji Xiaoye said this, Yi Huanyan thought she was just joking. But half a month later, when she received an excited call at home, Yi Huanyan realized that this pregnant woman might really be crazy. It wasn't prenatal depression, but prenatal mania. During the Spring Festival, there was a constant stream of hot searches on the internet. Other than the Spring Festival gala programs that had been a staple for the past few years, there were also the Spring Festival activities of various celebrities. Remaining Life was considered a dark horse before the Lunar New Year, so it was taken off the screens on the third day of the Lunar New Year to make way for the New Year films. This left a good impression on the directors and producers of the other New Year films. After all, it was a film with a high box office, so even if it was delayed, it was understandable. But Yi Huanyan did this to give face to the other films. Later on, it had a cumulative box office of 4 billion yuan and was already one of the best romance movies of the year. And this movie had single-handedly made a popular young star, Bai Yu, popular. Now, he already had tens of millions of fans on Weibo. During the Lunar New Year, Pure Feather was the most frequently trending topic. It would be fine if he was on the hot search alone, but he was always tied to Chen Yin. After a long time, Pure Feather's management team began to be dissatisfied and even warned Pure Feather to reduce his interaction with Chen Yin on Weibo. But this reduction, coupled with the studio's official announcement, made the couple fans begin to be dissatisfied. Until Pure Feather posted a status on the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, it directly caused an uproar. It was also this status that directly dragged Yi Huanyan down. Feather fans, don't matchmake me. Little Yin and I are just very good friends. Of course, the one I love the most is our director and screenwriter, the beautiful Yan Yan sister. It was just a few words, and it didn't mean much, but it was accompanied by a very intimate photo. On the Champs-Élysées in France, sycamore leaves were floating all over the ground. Pure Feather hugged Yi Huanyan's shoulder and turned his face to kiss her, but was stopped by the maple leaf in Yi Huanyan's hand. The posture and expression of the two were very natural, as if they were a couple who had been together for a long time. Originally, it was a taboo to match a popular young man as a couple. Fans didn't like to see their idols have girlfriends. But this time, when this photo was posted, there was a tide of good comments on the internet. Oh my god, he actually matches with the director sister. Yes, I instantly came up with a story about how to raise a little puppy. It was the director sister who made our brother Feather popular. If I can't repay her, then I will repay her with my body. There were some who were pleasing to the eye, and naturally, there were some who were not pleasing to the eye. Many people praised Yi Huanyan, and many people scolded her. This woman is in her 30s. It's disgusting for an old cow to eat young grass. She is not worthy of my little brother. Similar comments also covered the entire internet like a tidal wave. The two sides started to fight, and almost caused an uproar. For the next week, Yi Huanyan was not willing to go out at all. Pure Feather's apologetic call came quickly. Sister Yan Yan, I'm really sorry that the incident on the internet caused you trouble. It's okay, don't take it to heart. If you have time, just hold a press conference to clarify this matter. Yi Huanyan wanted to hold a press conference to clarify the relationship between Pure Feather and Chen Yin as soon as the Spring Festival was over. Whether it was his relationship with her or his relationship with Chen Yin, she wanted to prevent the hype from going too far and causing the reputation of the remaining life to decline. The voice on the other end of the phone sounded a little depressed. I'm afraid I can't, sister. I have a new movie in Canada. It's very difficult to ask for leave here, so I didn't go back to my hometown for the Spring Festival. No way. Which director is so strict? Yi Huanyan frowned. Oh, it's not a famous director. You definitely won't know him if I tell you. It's just an online drama. It's not appropriate to break the contract now, so I'll do it. I'm sorry, Sister Yan Yan. When I'm done with this movie, I'll go back and apologize to you. Pure Feather hung up just like that. Yi Huanyan was confused. Why did this kid call? He just apologized and said nothing else. If he wanted to clarify, he would say that he was not free. What was the difference between this call and not calling at all? I asked about the clarification meeting. It can be held tomorrow. Ling Han came in from the balcony with his phone. He seemed to be a little unhappy about the hot search for the past 2 days. Yi Huanyan looked at him apologetically. We can't hold the clarification meeting. Pure Feather said that he was not free to come back. If we clarify ourselves, I'm afraid that the fans on the internet will retaliate even more seriously. Ling Han's brows immediately furrowed. You're not going to clarify? Let's leave it at that for now. Anyway, it's not based on anything. The fans will forget about it after 2 days of excitement. It's just a misunderstanding. I'm going to take a shower first. I have to go to the office tomorrow. No. When she walked past Ling Han, a pair of strong hands suddenly grabbed her wrist. A strong force came and pulled her towards a warm chest. She cried out in surprise and slumped in his arms. She hit him coquettishly. What are you doing? You scared me. I said no. I won't allow such a misunderstanding to exist. Ling Han's expression was serious. His hands were around her waist, and his fingertips were picking up the belt of her half-dress. A numb feeling spread from her waist. Chapter 563. At first, Yi Huanyan didn't care about the displeasure on Ling Han's face. She just thought that he was jealous and throwing a tantrum at her. She laughed as she tried to avoid him. It's ticklish. Stop messing around. That pair of hands was stained with the cold air from the balcony and suddenly made their way under her skirt. Esses. Yi Huanyan shuddered from the cold. She felt a cold sensation coming from the cleavage of her buttocks. She raised her head and looked at Ling Han in surprise. Subconsciously, she tried to push his chest away. However, this action attracted his dissatisfaction. His hand slid between her buttocks and gradually touched the sensitive area. His cold fingers explored the surroundings and gently scraped over. Ah! Yi Huanyan cried out in surprise. She suddenly covered her mouth and her face was red. What are you doing? Her breath was unstable. One hand pushed against his chest and the other hand went around to grab his wrist in an attempt to stop his actions. I'm going to take a shower. Stop messing around. You don't want. Ling Han's voice was tinged with lust. Yi Huanyan only felt her heart suddenly skip a beat. Her face was burning fiercely, but she kept a straight face. Your hands are so cold. Let's talk about it after the shower. She was afraid of the cold. It was the after effect of the burn from the car accident. Ling Han hesitated for a few seconds before retracting his hand. Yi Huanyan rushed into the bathroom with a red face. She soaked in the bathtub and covered her face to reduce the heat. Actually, she didn't have much time alone with Ling Han before and after the Spring Festival. Pleasure had just started its restructuring and the listing was also being adjusted. Ling Han was really busy. He left early and returned late every day. He only stayed at home longer on New Year's Eve and the first day of the Lunar New Year. After the second day of the Lunar New Year, he moved back to the villa in the city center. This was the house that Yi Huanyan was currently in. It was also the house where she lived with him all those years ago. The furnishings had not changed at all, and the sense of familiarity was overwhelming. Other than the fact that Ling Han lied at the cinema that day, Yi Huanyan didn't think that there was anything special about him. It was just that he was very busy every day. Everything was within reason. Besides, when Ling Han heard about Pure Feather's matter today, his angry look didn't seem fake. Yi Huanyan touched her face and took a deep breath. Perhaps she had misunderstood something. After she came out of the shower, she reminded him while drying her hair, "I'm done showering, you." Before she could finish speaking, she stopped abruptly. Her gaze fell on the empty bed, but she did not see Ling Han's figure. He left a note on the table. Something came up. Go to sleep first. Don't wait for me. Looking at the flamboyant handwriting on the note, she could almost imagine how hurried he was when he left. Did something happen at the company again? She paused in the middle of drying her hair. For the next few days, Ling Han would come back at night to have dinner with her and then go back to the company. He would be gone for the whole night. He would come back in the morning to have breakfast with her and then leave for the whole day. Yi Huanyan saw that it was quite tiring for him to travel between the two places, so she simply moved back to the old mansion to stay, afraid that it would affect his work. Ling Han didn't say anything about this. However, Ji Xiaoye was anxious. What? You stayed at his place for a week, and he didn't touch you? Shoo! Yi Huanyan quickly got up and ran to the office to close the door. She turned around and glared at Ji Xiaoye. Why are you yelling? Do you want all my employees to know? You still know how to be embarrassed. Ji Xiaoye rolled her eyes at her. This is such a big thing, and you're telling me so casually. I thought you didn't care. I stayed there for a week. It's normal for me not to do it for a week. We've been together for so many years. Don't tell me you and my brother do it every day. Yi Huanyan straightened her neck to defend herself. Unexpectedly, Ji Xiaoye suddenly blushed. I don't want to, but your brother is really too energetic. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. Don't talk nonsense with me. You're pregnant and you don't pay more attention. When we found out, we were already 2 months pregnant. Who could have cared? Later, we listened to the doctor. After the fetal position stabilized, we went back to normal. An Yen said that he consulted the doctor, and the doctor encouraged sexual activity during pregnancy. He said that it was for the delivery. Stop. Yi Huanyan couldn't listen to this anymore. She quickly raised her hand to signal for the topic to end. I didn't want to talk to you about this. I'm really not interested in knowing about my brother and you. You're jealous, aren't you? Ji Xiaoye had a smug look on her face. She swung the 2 loose belts around her waist. I really didn't. She couldn't even explain it clearly. Don't take it so lightly. I know that your brother is a weirdo who can't satisfy his desires, but don't tell me that your Ling Han is frigid. I still remember what happened between the two of you so many years ago. You've been hospitalized so many times because of this. You're so fierce. Sigh. The more she said, the more ridiculous it became. Yi Huanyan felt that she couldn't bear to continue listening. Fortunately, Ji Xiaoye knew when to stop, so she skipped this part and went straight to the main topic. What I mean is that it doesn't matter how he is now, but it depends on the comparison. Compare his current state with his previous state. If the difference is too big, you have to be careful. Yi Huanyan was stunned. In terms of sex life, she had always been very compatible with Ling Han. And because they were compatible, they had been very frequent. If it weren't for his poor health, they would have been clinging to each other every day. So according to this statement, Ling Han had indeed been a little strange recently. Ji Xiaoye could tell that something was wrong from Yi Huanyan's face. Since she was bored to death during her pregnancy, she slapped her thighs and patted her chest. You can count on me for this. Yi Huanyan looked at her skeptically. What do you have in mind? I have medicine. In the evening, Yi Huanyan prepared a table full of dishes. She stood in front of the table in a daze. She was holding the medicine that Ji Xiaoye gave her in her hand. An aphrodisiac. Just as she was hesitating, the doorbell suddenly rang. She thought that Ling Han had returned, so she quickly put away the medicine bottle and hurried over to open the door. When she opened the door, she saw that it was Ji Xiaoye. She walked in carelessly with her hands on her hips. It smells so good. The moment she entered, she picked up a piece of pork rib. Just as she was about to eat it, she suddenly asked, You didn't put any medicine in this pork rib, right? No. Yi Huanyan waved her hand. I haven't put it in yet. I don't think it's appropriate. I knew you wouldn't dare to put it in. Biting the pork rib, Ji Xiaoye reached out her hand. Where's the medicine? It's here. Yi Huanyan quickly took it out. Ji Xiaoye unscrewed the cap and sprinkled a little into each dish. Remember, you'll eat this vegetarian dish later. If Ling Han asks, you'll say that your stomach hasn't been feeling well recently and you don't want to eat meat. I still don't think that's a good idea. I'm leaving first. We've already done what we should do. The rest is up to you. Apart from the aphrodisiac effect, this medicine will also make you confused. If you want to ask anything, it's best to take advantage of that time to ask. After saying this, Ji Xiaoye slipped away. Chapter 564. Yi Huanyan had come and gone in a hurry, leaving behind such a troublesome table. She didn't know whether to sit or stand. Ling Han came back not long after Ji Xiaoye left. He asked about Ji Xiaoye and said that he saw her car on the way back. Why didn't you stay for dinner next month? Yi Huanyan stammered. My brother doesn't allow her to eat out. Ling Han nodded. He didn't seem to notice Yi Huanyan's strange behavior. You must be tired from making so much food today. No, nothing. I'm not tired. Compared to Ji Xiaoye's ability to lie without thinking, Yi Huanyan speaking was her nemesis. She couldn't sit still and couldn't eat. After watching Ling Han eat a lot of food, she asked in a hoarse voice. Well, do you feel uncomfortable? Ling Han pulled off his tie with his slender fingers. No, it's just a little hot. He took a sip of water and put down the cup. I have something to do tonight and will probably be busy until morning. Before it gets dark, if you don't want to sleep here alone, I'll take you back to the old mansion first. Yi Huanyan pursed her lips. I don't want to go back. Then, you can sleep here. Am I alone? It's such a big house. I'm a little scared. Silly girl. Ling Han rubbed her head affectionately. What's there to be scared of? This is our home. I'll accompany you. At night, Ling Han fell asleep with her in his arms. At first, Yi Huanyan was a little nervous. After all, Ji Xiaoye didn't know how to control her strength. She didn't know how effective the medicine was and didn't ask when it would take effect. However, Ling Han didn't respond. She stayed awake until midnight and didn't feel anything wrong with the man beside her. The bed was very soft and the embrace was very fragrant. Unknowingly, she fell asleep. She didn't know how long she slept, but the phone suddenly rang and woke her up from her beautiful dream. Hello. Yen, where are you? At home. She replied vaguely. It was Ji Xiaoye on the other end of the line. She sounded very anxious. You're still sleeping? You're alone, right? Where's Ling Han? Ling Han? Before Only then did Yi Huanyan realize that there was no one around her. A small night light was left at the head of the bed, illuminating the empty bedroom. Let me ask you now. Did Ling Han eat those dishes? Yes. Yi Huanyan was a little confused. She didn't know what Ji Xiaoye meant by this call. After Ji Xiaoye said the word eat, the person on the other end of the phone suddenly took a deep breath. Ji Xiaoye's voice suddenly became serious. She sounded so serious that it made Ji Xiaoye shudder in fear. I'm telling you now. You have to be mentally prepared. Ling Han is now at the Red Maple Hotel, downtown. Yi Huanyan's expression changed. What did you say? Ji Xiaoye said again, I'm already out and on my way there. Come over quickly. I suspect that something is going to happen. If I see something that I shouldn't see, I'll do it for you first. No, don't be impulsive. Yi Huanyan's mind was filled with the drug in the food. Calm down. I'll calm down too. You're saying that Ling Han ate the food and the drug took effect, but he didn't care about me lying in bed and ran to the hotel? That's impossible. You don't believe me, the person on the other end said with certainty. I saw it with my own eyes in the GPS system. GPS system? When did you install it for him? Last night, when we were having dinner, I borrowed his phone to make a call, so I put it on just in case this day would come. No, I'll go to the hotel myself. You have to come back quickly. If my brother finds out about this, you're done for. Yi Huanyan was anxious. She wanted to defend Ling Han. There must be a misunderstanding, but she was more worried that Ji Xiaoye would be impulsive and run out in the middle of the night while pregnant. If something happened, the whole family would be in chaos again. It's too late. I'm already at the hotel. I'm going to the front desk to ask for his room number. Hello. Before Yi Huanyan could ask anything, the person on the other end had already hung up. His attitude was clearly saying that it was up to her whether she came or not. In any case, he was going to join in the fun. Yi Huanyan thought about Ji Xiaoye's obviously pregnant body and was scared out of her wits. She grabbed her coat and car keys and ran out. She had to get her back before Gu Xinian found out about this. on the 12th floor of the Red Maple Hotel. When Yi Huanyan arrived, Ji Xiaoye was hiding at the top of the stairs. She called for a long time, but no one picked up. Finally, she saw a gloved hand in the hallway, waving at her, signaling for her to come over. Yi Huanyan walked over and was pulled into the stairwell by a strong force. Sure enough, she saw Ji Xiaoye. She was dressed all in black with sunglasses on. Seeing her like this, Yi Huanyan was furious. "You're crazy. If my brother knew you were crazy here, he'd definitely take you back and teach you a lesson. You're the crazy one. How can you be so calm when you know your husband is in a hotel with someone else? Did you King cheat on him? Did you really fall for that little idol from Remaining Life, Pure Feather? No, what does this have to do with Pure Feather? You've been here for a long time. Did you see anything? Ling Han cheated on you? Did you see him go in with a woman in his arms? He went in by himself, but he was carrying a big bag with a lot of food and drinks. So I'm sure there's someone else in the room. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a woman." Yi Huanyan frowned. "Song Xiaobo is still staying in a hotel. I bring him food every few days. Otherwise, an idiot like him would starve to death." "That's different." Ji Xiaoye widened her eyes. "Song Xiaobo is someone Ling Han knows about. You haven't kept it from him, but what about this person? Do you know who's in there?" Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Actually, she hadn't thought about it at all. She had been praying for Ji Xiaoye, that crazy woman, to be fine. Now, she was really thinking about the room. "I've asked the front desk. Ling Han has been coming here for the past 2 days. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, sometimes it's in the morning. The timing is irregular. Every time he comes, he's carrying a lot of things." "Then did you ask the front desk who's in there?" "Of course I did." "Who?" "The front desk said that Ling Han is the only one who's registered." "What the hell?" Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes and grabbed her arm rudely. "I think you're crazy. Hurry up and come with me. Let's go home. My brother must be worried sick." "Sure." Ji Xiaoye suddenly pressed her head down and covered her mouth to stop her voice. "Someone's here." The room diagonally opposite the staircase was Ling Han's room, room 1204. At this moment, a woman was standing at the door and knocking. She was wearing a dark green lace dress and pitch-black high heels. A gray woolen coat was draped over her wrist. Her chestnut brown hair was draped over her shoulders. From the back, she had an excellent figure. Chapter 565. F***CK, what did I tell you? He's so hot-blooded. There's definitely something fishy about him not touching you after taking the pill. I'm going to King kill this adulterous couple. Ji Xiaoye rolled up her sleeves and was about to rush out when Yi Huanyan pulled her back. "Xiao Yu, don't go. What are you doing?" Ji Xiaoye turned around and glared at her unhappily. "How can you bear with this?" "I can't bear with it." Yi Huanyan frowned. "She's Wang Yuewei." The woman in the dark green dress was Wang Yuewei, the second-generation official's daughter with a red background who had been very close to Ling Han recently. "So?" Ji Xiaoye looked anxious. "She's the Queen Mother of the West. I can't bear with it now either." As they spoke, the door to room 1204 opened. It was indeed Ling Han who opened the door. His originally calm expression revealed a hint of a smile when he saw Wang Yuewei. "You're here. Come in and talk." The two of them only exchanged a few words before they both entered the room. Yi Huanyan's expression changed. At the same time, she held Ji Xiaoye's hand even tighter. Her uncle has connections with the National Development and Reform Commission. The Pleasure and Pleasure projects can only be implemented after her uncle's approval. They're still in the process of being approved. Don't mess around. Ji Xiaoye's expression darkened. "You're still in the mood to care about pleasure and pleasure at a time like this? If you want to talk about pleasure and pleasure, It's good that Ling Han can obediently become the Gu family's son-in-law. Why do you have so many tricks up your sleeve? Sigh. In the end, Yi Huanyan couldn't hold Ji Xiaoye back. She shot out like an arrow and started knocking on the door. Soon, someone opened the door. Who are you looking for? Wang Yuewei stared at Ji Xiaoye in surprise. Her face was filled with displeasure. You're the one I'm looking for. As she spoke, Ji Xiaoye raised her hand. Shameless mistress. Sigh. Before the slap landed, Yi Huanyan quickly grabbed her wrist, causing her to stumble. She hurriedly shouted, sorry, we got the wrong person. It's not you. Ji Xiaoye staggered and fell onto Yi Huanyan's shoulder. She was dragged towards the stairs by Yi Huanyan, shouting as she walked. What do you mean it's not you? It's you, you adulterer. What happened? Ling Han's voice cut in at the right time. Yi Huanyan's entire body stiffened. She glanced behind Wang Yuewei from the corner of her eyes. It was Ling Han. He was a head taller than Wang Yuewei. At this moment, he was standing beside her. They looked like a perfect match. I think I got the wrong person. Wang Yuewei closed the door, but Ling Han did not see the figure outside the door. Why won't you let me in? I saw it. Seeing is believing. Yi Huanyan, are you stupid? No, I think there must be some misunderstanding. Damn, a single man and a single woman in a room. What kind of misunderstanding is there? They're dressed neatly. You saw it too. Maybe they have something to discuss. Let's wait a little longer. It'll be too late if we wait any longer. That drug is very strong. Ji Xiaoye lowered her head and glanced at her wrist. She pointed at her watch and reminded him. It's been about 3 hours since he ate. The effects of this medicine are at their best right now. Don't mess with me. Otherwise, when something happens, you'll blame the medicine for its effects and find excuses for Ling Han, this scumbag. I'm not looking for excuses. You really should wait a little longer. I don't believe that Ling Han will stay with her for the whole night. You really don't believe it, or you don't want to believe it. Ji Xiaoye looked at her meaningfully. No matter what Yi Huanyan was thinking, it was impossible for her to rush in now. Ji Xiaoye was bored to death. She leaned against the wall and yawned. I'm going to the bathroom. You can continue to wait. It was already late at night. Yi Huanyan was very sleepy. She leaned against the wall and squatted for a while. Her eyelids kept fighting. In her daze, she seemed to see a figure in front of her. Because the hug was too familiar, her consciousness became more muddled and she fell into a deeper sleep. Ji Xiaoye returned to her original spot after using the bathroom. She was stunned when she saw that there was no one in the corner. She looked around and whispered, Yen Yen. She went in. A familiar voice sounded from the emergency exit beside her. It sounded a little angry. Her entire body stiffened as she stiffened her neck and looked over. Why are you here? If I didn't come, were you planning to stay here for the whole night? Gu Xinyan's face was livid. I'm just being nice. Isn't it all for your sister? I think you're bored out of your mind. Hey, Gu Xinyan, don't push your luck. Who's pushing their luck? Come home with me first. As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Xiaoye cried out in surprise. Her legs were in the air as Gu Xinyan carried her in his arms and walked toward the elevator. Hey, put me down. Yen Yen is still here. What does this have to do with us? Yen Yen is your sister. You're so cold and heartless. Gu Xinyan, are you still human? The woman in his arms kept struggling. Even though Gu Xinyan was strong, he was afraid that she would fall from his arms and hurt herself. He pinched her waist hard. Are you done? Ji Xiaoye screamed, You pinched me. He's proposing. Why are you interfering? You have a reason to pinch me. You what? Propose? Ling Han planned this proposal for half a month and you ruined it. Who do you think told me to come here and take you away? In the hotel room, when Yi Huanyan woke up, she was surrounded by dim yellow lights. She was lying on the clean and elegant bed in the hotel. There were very few creases on the bedsheets. It was obvious that no one else had slept here except for her. A buzzing sound came from outside the bedroom. Her sleepy eyes suddenly became clearer. Why was she here? This was a suite. Outside was the living room. At this moment, there was a big table in the middle of the room. A tall man was wearing a khaki work outfit. He had a thermal blindfold on his face. His slender and clean fingers were holding clips and tweezers as he operated a sophisticated instrument. With a creak, the sound of the bedroom door was heard. Ling Han raised his head and looked at Yi Huanyan through the thermal blindfold. "You're awake? Did I wake you up?" Yi Huanyan's eyes were full of confusion. "What are you doing?" Ling Han put down the things in his hands, took off the blindfold, and looked at her with a half-smile. "Before I answer you, shouldn't you answer me first? What are you here for?" Yi Huanyan was speechless for a moment. She couldn't say that she was here to catch them in the act, right? At this moment, there was no trace of hair on the two women in the room. It was really strange. After a while, she stammered. I was me. I realized that you were missing, so I came to take a look." "What did you see?" Yi Huanyan's eyes were filled with jealousy. "I saw Wang Yuewei come to look for you. And then? And then there was no, and then. I thought that you must have something to do with work with her, so I didn't disturb you. Don't worry, I didn't misunderstand anything. I don't mind at all." "So you didn't mind at all and just squatted at the door until you fell asleep." Chapter 566. There was a faint smile in Ling Han's eyes, as if he had already seen through Yi Huanyan's thoughts. Yi Huanyan only felt her face burning. She gritted her teeth and straightened her neck. "Anyway, I didn't do anything extreme." If his wife saw this scene, she would have rushed in and made a scene. "I'm giving you face, so don't push your luck. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm leaving." Yi Huanyan didn't dare to look into his eyes at all. Ling Han's mischievous look clearly showed that he wanted to see her make a fool of herself. Nothing must have happened here. Clearly, her rationality told her that Ling Han wasn't that kind of person, but when she thought of him sharing a room with another woman, she still felt so unhappy. "Wang Yuewei is here to give me something. I have a deal with her." Ling Han's voice stopped her in her tracks. Yi Huanyan could even hear his approaching footsteps behind her. Her body stiffened slightly, and she resisted the urge to turn around. "You don't have to explain. I didn't misunderstand anything anyway. Don't you want to ask me what she's here to give me?" Yi Huanyan was stunned, and a trace of doubt flashed through her eyes. What was it that had to be given at night? Just as she was thinking, she felt a warmth on her shoulder, and the shoes on her feet softly turned half a circle on the carpet. When she came back to her senses, she was already facing Ling Han sideways. His tender eyes reflected the dazzling light of diamonds. Yi Huanyan covered her mouth, and her eyes were full of shock. Ling Han knelt on one knee and held one of her hands. "I originally planned to find a time when there were many people, when Dad, Mom, second uncle's family, and your friends were all present, so that everyone could be witnesses. But after today, if I don't explain clearly, I'm afraid there will be misunderstandings between us for a few days. I can't bear to see you suffer because of these things. Yen, will you marry me?" "You did it." Yi Huanyan's voice was trembling. She finally understood why the instrument on the table looked so familiar. When she was in the Four Seasons villa, she had been to Wan Yi's studio. The instrument there was almost the same as this one. They were all cutting and inlaying machines used to make jewelry. "Yes. Have you been busy with this for the past few days?" "Yes." Ling Han raised his head and looked at him. His deep smile covered the tiredness between his eyebrows. "Mom taught me the design, and I've been learning the inlay process for a long time. Mom said I need to practice more, but I don't have time during the day, so I can only come here at night to practice. Wang Yuewei came here to give me a diamond, the one she won at the jewelry auction in France 2 months ago. A world-class treasure, a blue diamond the size of a pigeon's egg, inlaid on the platinum ring, dazzling the eyes. Yi Huanyan felt a lump in her throat, and her voice started to choke up. How long have you not slept? Ling Han blinked his dry eyes as the corners of his lips curled up. Yan, you haven't promised me yet. Why didn't I promise you? We got the marriage certificate long ago, and we have a child. Do you think I will accept anyone's proposal in this life? We clearly agreed that we don't need to be so formal. I don't care. Towards the end, her voice was already sobbing. I care. Ling Han lowered his head and carefully held Yi Huanyan's wrist. He put the ring on her finger and slowly pushed it in. His eyes were full of warmth. I want the whole world to know that you are my wife. I want you to have what others have, and what others don't have. I want to do my best to give you the best things in the world for the rest of my life. A dazzling blue light flashed on his slender ring finger. That was his promise to her for the rest of his life. Yi Huanyan held back her tears and pulled him up from the ground by his arm. She didn't know what to say, so she plunged into his arms and cried hard. Sigh. Ling Han lowered his head and pulled her out of his arms. He held her face and kissed her, sealing her sobs in her throat. Ugh! Yi Huanyan only felt a burning heat rising from her lips and gradually spreading throughout her body. It was like an electric current, causing waves of numbness. Yan. A pair of big hands reached into the hem of her clothes. They were as hot as soldering iron. Yi Huanyan suddenly realized that something was wrong. She pushed Ling Han away and panted. Wait a minute. Ling Han's face was crimson, and his eyes were already blurred. His big hands reached into the inside of her clothes and easily undid the buttons of her underwear. He followed her armpits and reached forward. He felt 2 plump places and vigorously kneaded them. He murmured Yi Huanyan's name. Yan. Yi Huanyan gasped for breath and moaned, but her body stiffened. A thought quickly flashed through her mind. Could it be that the drug had taken effect? It was such a romantic and beautiful moment. He could clearly rely on instinct. Why did he have to rely on drugs? What a pig teammate. One day, Yi Huanyan complained to Ji Xiaoye about this matter. She ruthlessly made a dig at her bad idea. However, Ji Xiaoye's brain circuit was not about self-blame and guilt. Instead, she asked her with a mischievous expression. 2 things at the same time. Just tell me how you felt that night. At that time, the 2 of them were in the dressing room, wearing white veils. When she heard this question, Yi Huanyan couldn't help but think about the passion of that night. The white veil made her face flush. That night, because of the drug, Ling Han didn't stop for the entire night. He finally stopped once in the middle, but she fainted because she was too excited. When she woke up, she saw him working hard on her body. Until noon the next day, the entire room was filled with traces of lovemaking. This kind of unrestrained lovemaking directly caused Yi Huanyan to be unable to get out of bed for the next 3 days. Her waist was about to break. Half a month later, Pleasure Group and Haiyan Media announced the merger and officially changed the name to Huanyan Media Group. At the same time, they announced the marriage of the presidents of both parties, Ling Han and Gu Huanyan. The wedding was scheduled to be held in Los Angeles after the beginning of spring. On the day of the wedding, the Four Seasons Villa was bustling with noise. It was the biggest banquet in the villa in 100 years. The Four Seasons Villa was marrying a daughter and a daughter-in-law, so it was very lively. That night, the news of the young madam of the Gu family, Ji Xiaoye, the editor-in-chief of Fengshang, bringing the wedding to a climax. Gu Hang and his wife announced that the Four Seasons Villa would entertain all the guests and celebrate for 3 days. The beach was full of singing and dancing. At the beginning of the next year, the second daughter of the Gu family, the vice president of the Huanyan Group, Gu Huanyan, gave birth to a second daughter. She was named Ling Chunwan, and her nickname was Baby Nuan. In the same year, Ling Han and Gu Huanyan both retired from the board of directors. They fired the executive president and vice president, and hired the popular actor Su Nianhua as the president to take over the Huanyan Group. 2 years later, The famous director Gu Huanyan directed the period drama 10 Miles of Red Makeup, and made the company's signed artist, Chan Een, famous. Chan Een used her straightforward personality, excellent character, and talent to become the most popular actress of the decade. A line from 10 Miles of Red Makeup paid tribute to the classic, and it spread far and wide. For love, the living can die, and the dead can live. Chapter 567. Everyone in Lanjiang City said that the president of the Huanyan Corporation, Ling Han, was just a puppet. As the son-in-law of the Gu family financial group, he actually had no right to speak. The entire company's right to speak was in the hands of his wife and her lover. Such rumors could not be said to be unfounded. The original president of the Huanyan Corporation, Ling Han, faded from the public eye in the first year after his marriage. Other than appearing once a year at the year-end board meeting, his figure was always in the travel photos on his wife's social media account. 5 years later, his son, Gu Yao, took over the Huanyan Corporation at the tender age of 12. Su Nianhua retired to the position of vice president. There were many rumors in the outside world. Busybodies dug up a scandal from 6 years ago about the past of the vice president of the Huanyan Corporation, Su Nianhua, and the former vice president, Gu Huanyan. My guess is that this child is the child of Gu Huanyan and her lover. It's not easy to be a son-in-law. The grass is already on his head, but he can't say anything. The century-old business of the Pleasure Corporation was ruined in the hands of a wastrel like Ling Han. It was given to the son of old Wang next door. Regarding this rumor, the reporters seem to have activated cheats and surrounded the entrance of the Huanyan Corporation every day. Gu Huanyan and Ling Han were far away overseas, but there were still 2 people involved. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the 12-year-old Gu Yao and the vice president, Su Nianhua, walked out of the corporation side by side. Compared to the elegant and refined appearance of many years ago, Su Nianhua now had a more mature and stable feeling. Beside him was the 12-year-old young president, Gu Yao, whom everyone was talking about. Vice President Su, is the rumor that Gu Yao is your son true? Gu Yao, what do you think about the rumor that your mother and the vice president of the company, Su Nianhua, have an unspeakable relationship? Does your father have any opinion on this matter? There have been rumors that you are the son of Gu Huanyan and her ex-husband. Can you respond to this? You should know very well who gave birth to you, right? Does your family not avoid these things at all? The words of the reporters had always been vicious. When facing the person involved, they would never consider the age of the other party. Even if they felt that it would be difficult for a 12-year-old child to take over Huanyan Corporation, they would never think that a 12-year-old child would be forced to respond to such unbearable rumors. The young man, who had been walking among the bodyguards with his head down and had been well protected by Su Nianhua, suddenly stopped in his tracks. He raised his head slightly and looked at the few reporters in the crowd who were making the most noise. He curled the corners of his mouth, revealing an arc that was enough to make people gasp. "Come here." He took out his slender fingers from his trouser pocket and hooked his finger at a female reporter in the crowd. The young man's cold and charming aura was so strong that the noisy scene suddenly fell silent. That reporter hesitantly walked towards the young man in the aisle that the crowd subconsciously made way for. "What did you just ask? Ask me again." The young man's voice had the unique hoarseness of a voice changer, but it was very clear. Coupled with that pair of cold and sharp eyes, it made people tremble even more. The female reporter swallowed her saliva and felt inexplicably flustered, but she forced herself to repeat it. "You should know very well who gave birth to you." The latter half of the sentence was stuck in her throat and she didn't dare to ask again. The young man didn't show an angry expression and was still cold. There was some interest in his eyes as he glanced at the female reporter. "Before answering your question, why don't you ask yourself who gave birth to you first?" "Of course it's my parents." "Oh, how do you know? Do you have evidence?" The female reporter's face paled. "You. Is it very interesting to make groundless accusations?" A cold light condensed in the young man's eyes. "As an adult, you are doing such a childish thing. If you have the time, Why don't I contact the hospital to do a paternity test for you? Maybe your biological father can help you fly up the tree? The female reporter was speechless, and the reporters at the scene were also stunned. This directly caused all the newspapers and media the next day to have their evaluation of the young CEO of Huan Yen Corporation drop to the bottom. Evaluations such as young and frivolous, thinking highly of himself were all praises. There were even people who made a big fuss about his identity and wrote articles about how he and Su Nianhua were father and son and spread it widely on the internet. 3 days later, an announcement on the internet made a big reversal of the whole thing. The famous child star Lu Jingru posted on Weibo. Aliens have been in the limelight recently. I couldn't resist my hand that wanted to show its existence, so I helped to do a paternity test. A female reporter: your father is really not your father. Lu Jingru debuted 2 years ago with the halo of Su Nianhua's daughter. When she debuted, she became popular all over the country with a record written and composed by her father. She became the new generation of female singers with the most potential. Now, at the age of 12, she had already gone on 2 global tours and had millions of fans. Lu Jingru often posted on Weibo to share interesting life stories. Among them, the one that fans liked to talk about the most was the interesting story between her and a friend nicknamed Alien. Over the past 2 years, the fans had come up with 3 conclusions. The first was that this alien was a man. The second was that he and Lu Jingru were childhood friends. The third was that he had a high IQ, but he was an idiot in life. When this Weibo post came out, the internet instantly exploded. Gu Yao directly confirmed that alien was Gu Yao. Some fans directly asked, "Is it Gu Yao? What's your relationship with Gu Yao?" Originally, they wanted to ask about the relationship between half-siblings. In the end, this young lady exposed the news that paralyzed Weibo several times. "The alien is my boyfriend. Can't you guys see?" Even though Lu Jingru had always been a rebellious girl who did things her own way and did not care about the outside world's evaluation, falling in love at the age of 12 was considered early love. It completely shattered everyone's worldview. Lu Jingru's early love instantly occupied the top of the hot search list and stayed at the top. Then, her mother, Zhang Ro, went out to buy groceries and was chased by reporters. "What do you think about your daughter falling in love at an early age?" "What can I think? Early love? She's only 12. So what? Who said that a 12-year-old can't fall in love? When you were 12, your mother didn't let you fall in love. Yes, it's not allowed." The reporter was stunned by this rhetorical question and stuttered. "Then how old are you now?" 26. "Are you in love?" Not yet. See, your mother didn't let you fall in love at an early age. If you work hard now, you can barely catch up with your late love." The reporter's worldview was shattered and he turned to her father. "Mr. Su, what do you think about your daughter falling in love at an early age? Keep the goodies within the family. I watched Gu Yao grow up, so I don't have to worry. It's better than being harmed by other brats in the future." Then. The reporter's face was stiff, and he squeezed out a sentence for a long time. Then when do you plan to let them get married?" "Ha," Su Nianhua laughed. "It's still early. They haven't reached the legal age. They have enough time to think about it." Chapter 568. It was as if overnight, the hottest topic had changed from the mystery of Gu Yao's biological father to the sweet daily life of a puppy love couple. The fans were like detectives. They flipped through all of Lu Jingru's Weibo posts and edited a compilation album about the embarrassing love story of the childhood sweetheart. The daily life of the rebellious girl and the mature teenager became the most anticipated event on Weibo. The reporters who were trying their best to find the truth were embarrassed. They didn't understand what was going on in this world where fans were king. Where was the ugliness of human nature? Where were the shackles of morality? Why did they only shout on Weibo to give candy to 2 12-year-old puppy love kids every day? You're encouraging them to commit a crime. After the incident fermented, Lu Jingru was scrolling through Weibo while quickly replying to various comments with her alternate account. Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the dressing room, accompanied by a young man's angry roar. Lu Jingru, get the hell out here. Lu Jingru was so scared that she trembled and almost dropped her phone. Oh my god. Why did you scare me? Gu Yao's face was livid. He grabbed Lu Jingru's collar. What's going on, Weibo? What boyfriend? What's going on with your parents? Let go, let go. Lu Jingru saw that he still didn't let go and suddenly stepped on his foot. Gu Yao groaned in pain and jumped onto the sofa. Lu Jingru fixed her collar and glared at him. I'm helping you with good intentions. Don't be ungrateful. The reporters have already said what your family is like. Don't you know it in your heart? Superior IQ. What do those people say have to do with me? Just sing your song properly. Aren't you meddling too much? Hey, I'm meddling too much. If it weren't for my dad, I wouldn't have bothered with you. My dad is my dad, not yours. If you want to be relatives, you have to ask me first. Okay, I'm going on stage in a while. You can either leave or sit in the audience. Sigh. While they were talking, Gu Yao was pushed out of the dressing room. He didn't even have a chance to say a word. If he were to ask who his nemesis was in this world, if Lu Jingru claimed to be number 2, no one would dare to claim to be number 1. However, this matter was indeed thanks to Lu Jingru. If they were really half-sisters, both parents would have exploded when they heard that their children were in a relationship at such a young age. Now that there was no movement at all, the rumors naturally fell apart. What kind of unorthodox method is this? Gu Yao muttered as he stood in the hallway with a frown. Ever since he met Lu Jingru, he had never figured out what was in this girl's head. Instead of being a proper lady, she dropped out of school 2 years ago to participate in a talent show behind the back of her family. She even forced him to cover for her. After she became popular, she refused to obediently create an image of a good girl. She took a tattoo photo and secretly changed the cover of her album. After that, she did all kinds of shocking things. She was the one who caused the mudslide in Tongxing World. In the past 2 years, if it weren't for a few elders trying to pull strings behind the scenes, with her image, she would have been banned by the country long ago. Some time ago, because she participated in a variety show and spouted profanities, it attracted the media's attention. Originally, she was already at the cusp of the storm, and the company asked her to behave. Just 2 days after she behaved, this incident happened again. Thinking of this, Gu Yao frowned. This girl, he didn't know what she was thinking. Was love something to joke about? At the concert, Lu Jingru held an electric guitar in her hands. She wore a dark little black dress and swung her dirty braids around her head. The audience was filled with passion. Looking at the figure jumping on the stage, Gu Yao suddenly felt a little moved. This girl had just sprained her ankle half a month ago. Now, he didn't know if she was holding on or if she had already recovered. Well, thank you to my fans for coming here to listen to me sing. Lu Jingru held the microphone and panted slightly. It's always been a more passionate rock and roll song. Today, I have a song that I want to give to one of you here, my best friend. When she said the words best friend, her melodious metallic voice suddenly became gentler. It was unknown who among the fans below shouted a name, but it was followed by the audience shouting in unison. Gu Yao, Gu Yao, Gu Yao. Lu Jingru raised her hand. Her black leather gloves revealed 5 slender fingertips. The thick black makeup couldn't hide the clarity and tenderness in her eyes. The audience fell silent. She shushed them. Those who often read my Weibo know that I actually prefer to call him an alien. Everyone burst into laughter. He's the same as me, only 12 years old. He's my friend who grew up with me. The origin of the nickname alien was because when we were young, he told me that he was different from others. Other people's bodies developed first, but his brain developed first. At that time, in my eyes, developing was equivalent to growing bigger. This description made a certain someone's face darken, and the fans laughed more and more uncontrollably. So I said that if the body can't keep up with the development, then wouldn't it be an alien? You all know that aliens generally look like those with big brains. Ha 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 ha. Later, I found out that he was right. He's smarter than many of his peers and knows more. With his IQ, he doesn't need to go to school, but he accompanied me to school for 2 years. Why? Lu Jingru suddenly laughed. Maybe it's because he's afraid that I'll bully others. In other words, Lu Jingru was unwilling to show her weak side. The fans only cared about laughing, but no one could understand the bitterness in her words. Gu Yao stood on the left side of the stage and looked at the girl on the stage who was chased by the spotlight. She was 12 years old and small. She was different from him. Her body and IQ were developing at the same age. She should have been sitting in the 6th grade classroom and studying honestly. But she was stubborn to death. After hearing that she didn't go to school, she refused to go to school no matter what. And now she had indeed proved herself. She was no longer the fragile girl who cried heartbreakingly after being pulled by her classmates when she first went to primary school. She didn't need to be comforted by herself, and she knew how to comfort herself. Growing up would always encounter all kinds of hardships. Parents and elders couldn't completely help you avoid them. This was also the meaning of the existence of friends. So, this song is for my best friend. The girl's clear voice echoed in the sports center square. The youth leaned against the pillar on the left side of the stage. There was a smile in his eyes that even he didn't notice, gentle and doting. Puppy love was a lie that she disguised. Friends were her pure and sincere heart. But a secret love was a true heart that she didn't have enough courage and strength to express. Lu Jingru sang while making a face at Gu Yao in the corner. She sang in a relaxed and lively way. Our summer is a day of ice cream, a day of swimming in the pool, and days of chasing each other around. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.